Chapter 211. After the three members of the Golden Generation introduced themselves to Wang Kai, the other members of Team 1 came forward to introduce themselves to Wang Kai and greeted him. They were Jiang Jing, male, control-type Soul Master, rank 49. Martial Soul, Skyscraper Vine. Yu Hao, male, agility-type Soul Master, rank 51. Martial Soul, Tempest Leopard. Su Jie, male, defense-type Soul Master, rank 48. Martial Soul, Gold-Eyed Pentaflower Elephant. Fang Gulin, female, auxiliary-type Soul Master, rank 47. Martial Soul, Exquisite Book. Jiang Qi, female, healing-type Soul Master, rank 45. Martial Soul, Pearl of Healing. Su Rui, male, food-type Soul Master, rank 44. Martial Soul, Crispy Biscuit. Li Yuemeng, female, auxiliary-type Soul Master, rank 46. Martial Soul, Six-Colored Ring. Of the 7 remaining members of the Hall of Martial Spirits, only one of them was a Soul King. The rest of them were all mid-stage Soul Ancestors and above. Although Wang Kai didn't know the ranks of the other members of Team 1 in the original timeline, he knew that their soul power ranks had increased compared to Wang Kai's opponents, but it was very limited and wouldn't be of much help to him. After the members of Team 1 of Martial Spirit Palace introduced themselves, the members of Team 2 of Martial Spirit Palace also introduced themselves to Wang Kai one after another. In the second team of the Martial Soul Hall, only the captain, Jin Wei, had reached the level of Soul King. The other team members were of different ranks, but on average, they were 3 ranks lower than the first team. Although Jin Wei was relatively strong, his martial soul was an assault-type martial soul. However, Evil Moon and Yin were already in Team 1 of the Martial Soul Hall. If he were to join them, Jin Wei wouldn't have much of a chance to fight due to the different combinations of Soul Masters. Therefore, he was sent to Team 2 as the captain instead of Team 1. After getting to know these members of the Martial Soul Hall team, who were also his future teammates, Wang Kai immediately walked towards the area where the Martial Soul Hall team was located. He started to recall the rules of the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Tournament. The Continental Elite Academy Tournament was held once every 5 years. It was sponsored and funded by the royal families of the Heaven Do Empire and Star Luo Empire. The Martial Soul Hall was in charge of organizing, supervising, and hosting the tournament. It was the grandest tournament in the world of Soul Masters, and was also a famous event on the Dolua continent. As the name implied, the Continental Elite Academy Tournament was a tournament that only academies that were dedicated to nurturing soul elders and above had the qualifications to participate. On the Dolua continent, there were about 150 academies that were registered. Every academy would receive an invitation and a quota from the Martial Soul Hall before the tournament. Of course, not every academy had the right to participate in the competition. The official Advanced Soul Master Academies of the 2 empires that provided the funds would receive an additional right to participate in the tournament, while the Martial Soul Hall's subordinate Advanced Soul Master Academies would also receive 2 rights to participate in the tournament. There were 2 hard rules in the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite Tournament as well. Firstly, the participating academies had to be under the age of 25. This would be tested by both the Martial Soul Hall and the 2 Empire Soul Masters. If anyone dared to cheat, the academy would be severely punished. Furthermore, every participating academy had to ensure that there were at least 7 people participating in each round. Secondly, during the tournament, Soul Masters had to learn from each other in a friendly manner. They had to do their best to avoid leaving their opponents with permanent injuries, and they couldn't allow any deaths. If someone killed their opponent, regardless of whether it was intentional or not, the academy would have to bear the corresponding losses and be expelled from the tournament. They would also be stripped of their qualifications to participate in the next 3 rounds. Although such a rule might restrict the performance of the participating Soul Masters to a certain extent, the 2 empires and the Martial Soul Hall's goal in organizing this Advanced Soul Master Academy tournament wasn't to let the various academies fight to the death and determine who was better. Instead, it was to select the most talented and powerful young Soul Masters and recruit them under their command. Apart from this, the students who could represent the Advanced Academy tournament were all the most outstanding talents in their respective academies. They were also the future of the Dolawa continent's Soul Master world. Nobody wanted them to die in vain. Nurturing a high-ranked Soul Master wasn't easy. Even though there were over 100 million people on the Dolawa continent, the number of people who could break through to become a Soul Scholar and Soul Master didn't exceed 10 million. It could even be said that 1 in 100 was chosen. Furthermore, there were talented students who could become Soul Elders before the age of 20. They had limitless potential. Therefore, although these rules made the tournament less exciting, they also protected the young Soul Masters to the greatest extent. It was a good thing that had more advantages than disadvantages. Apart from these two rigid rules, the remaining rules were more standardized and more complicated. The purpose of these rules was to ensure that the tournament was as fair as possible. Firstly, the Soul Masters on stage couldn't use any medicine or food that wasn't created by a food or healing type Soul Master. Furthermore, only the food or healing type Soul Masters had the right to replenish their team members. In other words, if one wanted to replenish their team members on stage, the corresponding food or healing type Soul Master had to occupy a spot on stage. This prevented the possibility of a team with a food or healing type Soul Master cheating. Secondly, Soul Masters couldn't use weapons that didn't have martial souls or soul skills. They also couldn't use any form or type of soul tools. Once they did, the Soul Master would be banned from participating in the tournament. However, the Academy wouldn't receive any additional punishment. To Wang Kai, these rules hadn't changed because of his arrival. This was also good news. Although he'd snatched away the poisonous treasures in the ice-fire yin-yang well, Tang Sin wouldn't have any problems finding other poisonous plants under the influence of the world's will. In the original timeline, Wang Kai's hidden weapons were enough to threaten a Soul Sage when he was still a Soul Ancestor. If Tang San was allowed to use hidden weapons, the threat that Tang San posed to Hui Yu Hao would definitely increase by a large margin. Apart from this, there were also rules that forbade the use of evil techniques that could temporarily increase one's soul force. They also forbade the Academy from harming a Soul Master's potential in order to temporarily increase their strength. I won't go into details here. Chapter 2:12. After Wang Kai joined Team 1, the training and battles between the two teams of Martial Spirit Hall began once again in full swing. Before Wang Kai's arrival, the training between the two teams of the Martial Spirit Palace was often a 7-person battle royale. But because the strength of the Martial Spirit Palace's team was far stronger than the second team, and they also had Evil Moon and Hulaina's martial soul fusion skill, they could always easily defeat the members of the second team. Of course, the members of Team 2 of Martial Spirit Palace could learn a lot from such a battle. However, the members of Team 1 didn't need to face such a challenge. However, this situation completely changed with the arrival of Wang Kai. After Wang Kai joined the team, Li Ning and Wang Kai proposed that the other members of Team 1 would fight against Wang Kai alone. In the beginning, the members of Team 1 were shocked by this crazy idea. Although these members were at most mid-stage Soul Kings, Wang Kai was only a low-stage Soul Emperor. They didn't believe that the 7 of them couldn't defeat Wang Kai alone. After all, they weren't the kind of old Soul Masters who had exhausted their potential to barely advance. They were geniuses in the prime of their lives with unlimited potential, and also the strongest of the new generation of Martial Spirit Hall. Although they were very confident in their own strength, they realized how naive their thinking was after they started fighting with Wang Kai. In their battles with Wang Kai again and again, although they constantly improved their tactics and improved their strength, they were still defeated by Wang Kai time and time again. After experiencing Wang Kai's strength, all the members of Team 1 had a unanimous admiration and trust for Wang Kai. Even Evil Moon, who was quite critical of Wang Kai at the beginning, was obedient to Wang Kai's orders. Even the beautiful, charming, and sexy Hulaina secretly had feelings for Wang Kai. In the process of fighting with the members of Team 1, Wang Kai wasn't without gains. Even though their cultivations were much lower than Wang Kai's, they were still very strong. They were geniuses who had experienced hundreds of battles, and when they worked together, they had the same fighting strength as Wang Kai when he only used the Azura Emperor. They were strong enough to fight an early-stage Soul King. Therefore, although Wang Kai could rely on his strong endurance to defeat them, Wang Kai had to expend a lot of energy in the process. Moreover, after every battle with Wang Kai, these team members would learn from their failures. Their teamwork would constantly improve, and their strength would soar with a whoosh. However, Wang Kai had also benefited from these battles. His combat awareness had improved in these bitter battles, especially when he was fighting against a group of people. He had gained a lot of experience in actual combat. Of course, Wang Kai couldn't always be the opponent of Team 1. After all, in the future Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite Tournament, they weren't opponents, but teammates who needed to fight against enemies together. They needed to build mutual trust and tacit understanding. Therefore, after fighting for a period of time, Wang Kai no longer fought with these team members, but joined their team to fight together. With Wang Kai's addition, the members of Team 1 for the group battle were determined. They were Wang Kai, Evil Moon, Hulaina, Yin, Yu Hao, Su Rue, and Li Wemeng. There were a total of 3 Assault-type Soul Masters, 1 Agility-type Soul Master, 1 Support-type Soul Master, 1 Domination-type Soul Master, and 1 Food-type Soul Master. As for the remaining members, it wasn't that they wouldn't fight, but that they would be the substitutes of Team 1. They would choose to fight based on the situation of their opponents. After Wang Kai joined, the overall strength of the first team of the Martial Spear Hall had greatly increased. As a result, their opponents were no longer the second team of the Martial Spear Hall, but Li Ning, Su Yun, Yi Xian, and the other Soul Sage instructors. After training day after day, Wang Kai and these members developed a certain level of tacit understanding, and their cooperation became better and better. Time flew by, and half a year passed in the blink of an eye. Wang Kai had successfully broken through to become a rank 63 Soul Emperor, while the members of the Martial Soul Hall's first team had also increased in strength. Several of them had successfully advanced by a rank. At this moment, the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite Tournament had officially begun. The first competition was the Soul Master Tournament's qualifiers. There were more than 100 Advanced Soul Master Academies participating in the Soul Master Tournament. If more than 100 Advanced Soul Master Academies were to compete, the number of matches would be too many. Therefore, the Martial Soul Hall divided the tournament into 3 stages: the qualifiers, the promotion stage, and the finals. The first stage was naturally the qualifiers. Unlike the promotion stage and the finals, the qualifiers were held in different regions. Other than the Martial Soul Hall, the Heaven Do Imperial Academy, and the Star Luo Imperial Academy, who had the right to send a team, the other teams had to compete in pairs to obtain the right to enter the promotion stage. There were a total of 32 spots for the promotion stage. Other than the 3 guaranteed teams, the remaining 29 spots will be divided equally between the Heaven Do Empire and the Star Luo Empire. Considering that the Star Luo Empire's overall strength was stronger, the Heaven Do Empire had a total of 14 spots, while the Star Luo Empire had 15. Of course, the Star Luo Empire didn't get an extra spot for no reason. This was because Team 2 of the Martial Soul Hall would go to the Star Luo Empire to compete together. In other words, if the Star Luo Empire's team could eliminate Team 2 of the Martial Soul Hall, they would obtain an extra spot. But if they failed, the spot would belong to Team 2 of the Martial Soul Hall. They would only have 14 spots like the Heaven Do Empire. Within the 2 empires, the qualifiers were further divided into regions. Using the Heaven Do Empire as an example, all the Advanced Soul Master Academies within the Heaven Do Empire that didn't belong to the other kingdoms and dukedoms would participate in the qualifiers in the Heaven Do City region. The Advanced Soul Envoys of the other kingdoms and dukedoms would participate in the qualifiers according to their country. The Heaven Do Empire had a total of 4 kingdoms and 1 dukedom. In other words, including the Heaven Do City region, The Heaven Do Empire had a total of 6 regions for the qualifiers. Other than Team 2 of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy's team that was guaranteed to enter the finals, these 6 regions would compete for the remaining 14 spots. Among these regions, the Heaven Do City region had the most advanced Soul Master Academies, and it was also a region directly under the Heaven Do Empire. Thus, 5 spots would qualify for the qualifiers. As for the other 4 kingdoms and 1 dukedom, each region would have 1 or 2 spots. The Star Luo Empire situation was almost the same as the Heaven Do Empires. However, Team 2 of the Martial Soul Hall would compete in the Star Luo Empire's region. Chapter 2:13. As the first team of the Martial Soul Hall, Wang Kai and the other team members naturally had the right to enter the qualifying round. As for the second team of the Martial Soul Hall, they left the Martial Soul Hall for the Star Luo Empire a week before the start of the qualifiers to fight for a spot in the qualifying round. Unlike the original timeline, the qualifiers for this year's Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy tournament were still held in the 2 empires, and the format of the tournament was still a team battle. However, the promotion tournament after the qualifiers wasn't held in the 2 empires. Instead, it was held in Martial Soul Saint City. Other than that, the format of the promotion tournament had also changed. A month later, the qualifiers in the Heaven Do Empire and the Star Luo Empire had finished. 29 teams had won and successfully entered the qualifying round. After that, they would rush to the Martial Soul Holy City with the Heaven Do Imperial Academy and the Star Luo Imperial Academy. They would meet up with the first team of the Martial Soul Hall that Wang Kai was in and participate in the qualifying round after the qualifiers. Among the teams from the Heaven Do Empire, there were the Blazing Fire Academy, Skywater Academy, Botany Academy, and other names that Wang Kai was familiar with. Of course, Shrek Academy, where Tang San and Shrek's 7 monsters were from, was also on the list. As for the Star Luo Empire, the second team of the Martial Soul Hall had obtained a spot in the qualifying round with their strength. The other 14 academies that Wang Kai wasn't familiar with stood out. As for the strength of these academies, the Martial Soul Hall had done a certain amount of sorting. Although these academies definitely wouldn't reveal their full strength in the qualifiers, their ranks couldn't be faked. The effects and weaknesses of some of the soul skills they'd used before were also exposed. As expected, all of Shrek's 7 monsters had become much more powerful than in the original timeline. Tang San, the leader of the Shrek's 7 monsters, had reached rank 54, which was a full 13 ranks higher than in the original timeline. As for the other 6 members of Shrek's 7 monsters, their strength wasn't as frightening as Tang San's, but they had all increased by 8 ranks or more. The drastic increase in Shrek's 7 monsters' powers was naturally within Wang Kai's expectations. This was one of the measures that the world had taken to resist the will of the world. Of course, although Tang San was the child of destiny and had the blessings of the world's will, it was impossible for the world's will to raise the rank of a soul master without limit. On top of that, Wang Kai had also successfully taken Tang San's Ice Fire Yin Yang well. As such, even though Tang San and Shrek's 7 monsters had become significantly more powerful, they were still within Wang Kai's control. As for the students from the other Advanced Soul Master Academies, their strength wasn't as frightening as Shrek's 7 monsters, but they had also improved significantly. Soul Masters like Feng Xiaotian, Yu Qianheng, and Huo Wushuang, who had received the blessings of the world's will, were only slightly inferior to the other 6 monsters. The strength of these Advanced Soul Master Academies had naturally increased as well. Another week passed. Finally, all the qualified teams had arrived at Martial Soul Holy City. At the same time, the Star Luo Empire's Emperor Diao Yin, the Heaven Do Empire's Emperor Shui, the nobles of the 2 empires, and the sect master of the 7 treasures Glazed Sect, Ning Fengji, had all arrived to participate in the competition. The Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite Tournament had officially begun. 3 days later, in the Martial Soul Hall's Martial Soul Holy City, a grand opening ceremony for the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite Tournament was held in Martial Soul Holy City. As the grandest tournament in the world of Soul Masters, this tournament wasn't just a tournament that attracted Soul Masters from all over the Dolua continent. It was also a grand event for the citizens of Martial Soul Holy City and the entire continent. Although the majority of the commoners didn't have the qualifications or wealth to buy tickets to watch the tournament, the process and results of the tournament would be published in various newspapers. These newspapers were quickly sold out by the passionate commoners. These commoners also enthusiastically participated in the competition and competed for the winning teams. Yes, although the majority of the humans on the Dolua continent didn't have the qualifications to cultivate, who didn't desire to become a powerful soul master. Therefore, although they couldn't participate in the tournament, the commoners were filled with passion for this tournament. It was just like how people on the blue planet were passionate about the Olympics. The opening ceremony for the promotion tournament was held in Martial Soul Holy City's Great Soul Arena. A month ago, the tickets for the opening ceremony had been completely booked by soul masters, nobles, and sects. Although the tickets for the worst seats cost 500 gold soul coins, the Martial Soul Palace still generously released a batch of free tickets. As long as your cultivation reached the level of a soul master and you were willing to watch the tournament, you could choose to draw lots. If your luck was good enough, you could watch this once every 5 years continental feast for free. In order to prepare for the upcoming opening ceremony and the promotion tournament, the Martial Soul Holy City's Great Soul Arena had stopped all soul dueling competitions long before the qualifiers began. The interior of the Great Soul Arena had been remodeled. All the sub-arenas and the main arena had been merged into one, forming an incomparably huge arena. After the remodeling, the Great Soul Arena could accommodate close to 100,000 spectators to watch the tournament at the same time. In addition, the area closest to the tournament was reserved as VIP seats for the Martial Soul Palace, the two empires, the various large sects, and the members of the academies who had entered the promotion tournament to rest and watch the tournament. Early in the morning, the sun had just risen from the east. The remodeled Great Soul Arena already had a large number of spectators. The spectators naturally didn't come so early to enter the arena, because every ticket had a special seat number. They wanted to be able to see the participating young soul masters up close on the first day of the opening ceremony. Among them, there were quite a few young girls. The number of soul masters on the entire Dolua continent added up to only 1 million. The students who could represent the advanced soul master academies in the tournament were the cream of the crop. With the age limit of 25 years old, they were undoubtedly the most ideal targets in the hearts of young girls. If they could marry a powerful soul master, it would definitely be a wonderful thing for them to gain both fame and fortune. Even some of the nobles who had bought tickets to the VIP area had gathered outside the Great Soul Arena at this time. Soul masters were very important strategic forces, so the nobles had always been happy to recruit soul masters. The Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite Tournament was a cradle for talents. Not to mention the teams that could defeat numerous strong opponents and advance to the next round. Even the participating students would be fought over by the nobles and clans. Chapter 214. At this moment, with the Martial Soul Sacred City's Great Soul Fighting Arena as the center, almost a third of the city was empty. Although many citizens of Martial Soul Sacred City didn't have the qualifications to enter the Great Soul Fighting Arena to watch the opening ceremony, they could still admire the grace of the continent's geniuses from outside. Although they couldn't cultivate, the mysterious soul masters were naturally the envy of all the citizens of the Dolua continent. To be able to come in close contact with genius soul masters, these citizens naturally didn't tire of it. Martial Soul Sacred City's Great Soul Fighting Arena was surrounded by 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside. In addition, a large number of high-grade soul masters, nobles, and sect members from the Heaven Do Empire and Star Luo Empire came to Martial Soul Sacred City to watch the competition. Since a few days ago, all the hotels and inns in Martial Soul Sacred City of all sizes were full, and the population of the huge Martial Soul Sacred City had increased by nearly 30%. From this, It could be seen how attractive the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy tournament was to people. Wang Kai and the other 11 members of the Martial Soul Hall's team, as well as the 3 instructors, Li Ning, Su Yun, and Lin Xiaoya, had already changed into the standard attire of the Martial Soul Hall's members and set off for the Great Soul Fighting Arena from the Martial Soul Temple. When they were still a kilometer away from the Great Soul Fighting Arena, the road was already crowded. Along the way, there were residents and guests who had come to watch the competition. In order to deal with such a situation, Martial Soul Sacred City had already mobilized over 10,000 city guards and soul masters to maintain order in the vicinity of the Great Soul Fighting Arena. This was to prevent too many spectators from causing a stampede or a riot, and to ensure that the participating teams could enter the arena normally. Under the envious and admiring gazes of the spectators on both sides, Wang Kai and the others entered the Great Soul Fighting Arena and went to the preparation hall to wait. The first part of the opening ceremony was for the various Soul Master Academies to enter the arena and introduce themselves. Therefore, all the Soul Master Academies were resting in the preparation hall and would only officially appear when the competition officially began. After arriving at the resting room, Wang Kai began to observe the other teams that had also arrived at the preparation hall. Because they were familiar with the route, the team of Martial Spirit Palace was the first to arrive. There were only 2 teams that had arrived earlier than them. One of the 2 teams was wearing a beautiful purple uniform, embroidered with flourishing patterns and the logo of the academy. According to the information, this team was from the Star Luo Empire's Purple Rainbow Academy. The other team that had arrived at the same time was from the Heaven Do Empire School of Botany. The members of this team were all dressed in green, and there were badges on their chests that represented different plants. Seeing the team of Martial Spirit Palace arriving, the members of the 2 teams immediately cast their eyes on them. As one of the 3 teams that were directly guaranteed to enter the promotion round, the Martial Soul Hall's first team had never revealed their strength. As the strongest power in the entire Doha continent, the team that the Martial Soul Hall sent out would naturally attract the attention of the other teams. Looking at the concerned gazes of these team members, Wang Kai responded with a faint smile. At the same time, he used his probing eye to observe the strength of these 2 team members. Under Wang Kai's observing eye, the strengths of the 2 teams also appeared clearly in Wang Kai's mind. The captain of the School of Botany's team was at rank 48, while the rest of the team members were at least rank 43. They were much weaker than the Martial Soul Hall's second team. The Purple Rainbow Academy's team members from the Star Luo Empire were slightly stronger. Their captain's soul power was at rank 51, while the rest of the team members were at least rank 45. Everyone's gazes slowly met each other's eyes before quickly shifting away. After observing their opponents, the members of the 2 teams once again gathered together to discuss. Wang Kai and the other members of the Martial Soul Hall's first team also sat down to chat. As time passed, team after team walked into the preparation hall. Wang Kai was rather familiar with the Heaven Do Imperial Family Academy's team, the Thunder Academy's team, the Blazing Academy's team, and other teams from the Heaven Do Empire. Wang Kai also saw Yu Qianheng, Huo Wu Shuang, Huo Wu, and the rest with his own eyes. Of course, there were a few teams that Wang Kai wasn't familiar with. Most of these teams came from the Star Luo Empire and didn't appear in the original timeline. Wang Kai only knew about these teams from the information he had, but didn't know much about them. At this time, there was a sudden commotion outside the hall. Then, a group of beautiful girls wearing blue team uniforms with blue ice lace on their legs walked in from the entrance of the preparation hall. They had beautiful figures and different temperaments, but all of them were extremely pure. Seeing this group of beautiful girls, almost all the male students in the preparation hall were attracted to them. Wang Kai was naturally no exception. Even many female students couldn't help but look at them with admiration. This group of girls was naturally the team members from the Heaven Do Empire's Skywater Academy. This academy only recruited female students with water-type martial souls, and they only accepted beauties. This was also the reason why the Skywater Academy's team members were all beauties. Standing at the front of the Skywater Academy's team were 2 blue-haired sisters who looked almost identical. They were clearly the Skywater Academy's team leader, Shui Bing and her sister, Shui Yu. Looking at Shui Bing she was about 165 meters tall, and her figure was perfect. She wasn't exaggeratedly voluptuous, but she wasn't the skinny type either. Her skin was like snow, soft and smooth, and was pleasing to the eye. Her long blue hair was draped over Shui Bing's snow-white back, and her fair face was adorned with incomparably exquisite facial features. Her eyes were like pools of clear water, and when she looked around, she had an elegant and noble temperament that made people feel ashamed of their own inferiority and didn't dare to blaspheme her. However, her cold arrogance and quick-wittedness had a soul-sucking aura that made people captivated. She was truly a great beauty in the world. Shui Yu, who was beside Shui Bing, was also extremely beautiful. Her appearance was almost the same as her sister's, and she also had snow-white skin and a beautiful face. However, compared to her sister, Shui Yu's figure was clearly more voluptuous and enchanting. Shui Yu's slender waist swayed as she walked, and her perfect figure was vividly displayed. Her pair of deep and clear blue eyes were like sapphires, and her quick-witted facial features were impeccable. All the team members around her felt a kind of shock in their hearts, as if all the good fortune in the world had gathered on her. Chapter 215. In the preparation hall, almost all the male members cast their gazes towards the members of the Skywater Academy team. Among the 10 members of the Skywater Academy team, the two sisters, Shui Bing and Shui Yu, attracted 90% of the gazes. The main reason why Shui Bing and Shui Yu could attract the gazes of so many male members was naturally because of their otherworldly and pure appearance. Although the other members of the Skywater Academy team could also be called beauties, when compared to the two sisters, they were like dust on the ground meeting the stars in the sky. They really paled in comparison. In addition to their beauty, Shui Bing and Shui Yu's attributes naturally attracted the gazes of countless people. For any normal male, enjoying the service of a pair of beautiful sisters with almost no difference in appearance and finally eating them together was definitely one of their ultimate dreams. And for Wang Kai, who came from the cerulean star, it was even more so. Although Wang Kai's family already had 5 beauties, Chihiro Snow, Ning Yuxian, Dai Qingli, Zhu Yiling, and Mo Shu, Wang Kai's family didn't have any sisters like Shui Bing and Shui Yu. Therefore, after seeing Shui Bing and Shui Yu's appearance, Wang Kai's mouth was watering. Although Shui Bing and Shui Yu's appearance was still slightly lacking compared to the other 5 girls in Wang Kai's family, the difference between them was only a fine line. In addition to the sisters' attributes, Wang Kai had already decided to add 2 new members to his family, and also found 2 new sisters for Chihiro Snow and Shui Yu. Heroes love beauties, and beauties love heroes. While the male students in the preparation hall were admiring the beauties of the Skywater Academy, how could the beauties of the Skywater Academy not be sizing up the young talents present? Among all the male students present, Wang Kai suddenly stood out from the rest of the female students of Skywater Academy. On one hand, it was naturally because of Wang Kai's handsome appearance and his unique and sunny temperament. On the other hand, it was also because of Wang Kai's identity as the captain of the continent's strongest Martial Spirit Palace battle team. The uniforms of the members of Martial Spirit Palace were very recognizable, and Wang Kai's uniform showed his identity as the leader. As the champions of the Soul Master Tournament in the past, the team sent by the Martial Soul Hall naturally attracted the most attention. As the team leader of this team, Wang Kai naturally won a lot of attention. Miss Shui Bing, Miss Shui Yu, nice to meet you. I'm Wang Kai, the leader of Team 1 of the Martial Spirit Palace. I welcome all of you beauties to our Martial Spirit Holy City to participate in this grand gathering of Soul Masters. It's really a blessing for all the participating teams to have the honor of competing on the same stage with all of you beautiful ladies. Although Wang Kai, like the other members of the Martial Soul Hall, admired the graceful and beautiful sisters, he still had Chihiro Snow and 5 other wives who were not inferior to Shui Bing and Shui Yu in terms of appearance. Therefore, he didn't lose his composure like the other male students. Instead, he revealed a bright and sunny smile as he walked up and enthusiastically extended his right hand. "Ah, Wang Kai, are you the new holy son of Martial Spirit Palace, Your Highness Wang Kai? I'm the team leader of Skywater Academy, Shui Bing. It's an honor for Your Highness Wang Kai to personally receive us." Although Shui Bing hadn't seen Wang Kai's true appearance, the news of Wang Kai being crowned as the holy son of Martial Spirit Palace had been published in the newspaper. Naturally, she had heard of this name before. She immediately recalled Wang Kai's identity, and her heart beat slightly faster due to nervousness. However, when she saw Wang Kai's generous and handsome face, the nervousness in her heart seemed to have subsided by a lot. She also took the initiative to shake Wang Kai's hand with her slender snow-white hand behind her. Hearing Shui Bing's question, Wang Kai also nodded slightly to express his confirmation. At this time, the conversation between Wang Kai and Shui Bing had also interrupted the other male students in the preparation hall from their surprise at the sight of Shui Bing and Shui Yu. Seeing Wang Kai holding Shui Bing's jade-like hand, the male students felt as if their goddess had been snatched away from them. They were all secretly upset. On the other hand, in the Martial Spirit Palace team, the cold and beautiful Hulaina looked at Shui Bing and Shui Yu in front of Wang Kai with a hostile gaze. Although Shui Bing looked a little cold, her hand was actually very warm. The touch was like a beautiful jade, soft and smooth, giving Wang Kai a very pleasant and comfortable feeling. In the past, Shui Bing had never been held by a strange man. After all, Skywater Academy was an academy that only recruited female students. Therefore, under the embrace of Wang Kai's big hand, Shui Bing's pretty face blushed slightly. However, she didn't feel any discomfort. Instead, she felt an extremely warm, comfortable, and even safe feeling. "Miss Shui Yu, nice to meet you too." Although the feeling of shaking hands with Shui Bing was very wonderful, Wang Kai didn't want to be in contact with her for too long in front of everyone's eyes. After a few seconds, Wang Kai revealed a bright smile and let go of her hand. Then, he enthusiastically greeted Shui Yu. "Hello, Your Highness Wang Kai." Seeing Wang Kai reaching out his hand to her, Shui Yu revealed a trace of excitement. Which girl didn't yearn for love? As the holy son of Martial Spirit Palace, Wang Kai was the most outstanding representative of young soul masters. He was also Shui Yu's idol. Seeing her idol appear in front of her and take the initiative to greet her, Shui Yu was also very excited. Then, she enthusiastically greeted Wang Kai. After meeting the two girls, Wang Kai also turned around and returned to his seat. At this time, Hulaina also glanced at Wang Kai with hidden bitterness. For Hulaina, her degree of beauty was only slightly inferior to Chihiro Snow and the other 3 girls. She was also a beauty that could sink fish and sink wild geese. Coupled with the charm of her heavenly fox martial soul, Wang Kai had already included her in the list of preparatory members of his big family. However, Hulaina's teacher was the disciple of the Martial Spirit Palace's Pope, Chihiro Snow's mother, BB Dawn. It wasn't convenient for Wang Kai to propose marriage to BB Dawn now. Therefore, although Wang Kai and Hulaina's relationship had rapidly heated up in half a year, and Wang Kai had also snatched away Hulaina's first kiss, the two of them didn't take the next step and made substantial progress. However, seeing Wang Kai so intimately meeting other girls, Hulaina still felt a little uncomfortable. Chapter 216. After returning to the Martial Spirit Hall, Wang Kai was a little surprised by the overall strength of the Skywater Academy. Compared to the original timeline, Shui Bing's strength had increased by a full 8 ranks, reaching the realm of a Soul King. It seemed that Shui Bing was also favored by the will of the world, which was why her soul force was able to increase so quickly. At the same time, her sister Shui Yu's strength had also increased by quite a bit. Of course, her increase in strength wasn't as great as Shui Bing-er's, but her soul force was already at the realm of a soul ancestor. This kind of strength could only be considered average among the 32 teams that had been selected. However, Wang Kai knew that the Skyward Academy had a huge trump card. The twin sisters, Shui Bing-er and Shui Yu-er, were able to release the legendary martial soul fusion skill. According to convention, a fusion skill unleashed by two rank 40 soul masters wouldn't be inferior to a soul skill unleashed by a rank 60 soul master. With Shui Bing-er and Shui Yu-er's strength, their fusion skill would be able to unleash a power comparable to a soul sage without his martial soul true body. Relying on this skill, they would definitely be able to achieve something in the advancement round. Just as Wang Kai returned to the Martial Spirit Hall and began to sigh with emotion about the strength of this year's Soul Master Tournament, Shui Bing led the members of the Skyward Academy to a place near the Martial Spirit Hall to wait for the opening ceremony to begin. The waiting process was definitely quite boring, and girls naturally liked to gossip. At this time, the captain of the Skyward Academy team, Shui Binger, gently pinched her sister Shui Yu-er's small face and jokingly asked, "Sister Yu-er, seeing how excited you were when you shook hands with His Highness Wang Kai, do you think you've already fallen in love with Wang Kai?" "Sister Bing, you're saying that I've fallen in love with His Highness Wang Kai? How is that possible? You must know that I've never met His Highness Wang Kai before. This is the first time I've seen His Highness Wang Kai. How can I fall in love with him so quickly?" Hearing Shui Bing-er's question, Shui Yu-er quickly explained. However, although Shui Yu-er denied it verbally, the more she thought about it, the more she felt that she might have really fallen in love with the handsome, generous, calm, and sunny Wang Kai. Although it was only their first meeting, Wang Kai's kind smile and warm hands seemed to have been imprinted in her heart. Could it be that she really had feelings for Wang Kai? No, I can't let my sister see this. Otherwise, she will definitely laugh at me. Looking at Shui Yu-er's faintly changing expression, Shui Bing-er, who was very familiar with Shui Yu-er, suddenly understood something. It seemed that not only her, but even her sister Shui Yu also liked Wang Kai. Hearing Shui Yu-er's explanation, the other members of the Tianshui battle team all looked over with eyes full of gossip. From Wang Kai's expression just now, Shui Bing could tell that Wang Kai admired and liked them. However, Wang Kai was the holy son of the Martial Spirit Hall, while she and her sister were only soul kings and soul ancestors. Even if he had feelings for them, would they have the chance to become the wives of such a handsome and powerful man like His Highness Wang Kai? Regarding this point, Shui Bing wasn't sure. After all, Wang Kai had only expressed admiration for them, but not any further interest. However, if Wang Kai was really willing to give them a status, she would definitely be willing to take her sister Shui Yu to serve His Highness Wang Kai. At this moment, Shui Yu, in order to divert the attention of the other members, suddenly said, "Sister Bing, by asking me this, could it be that you've also fallen in love with His Highness Wang Kai? Are you afraid that I'll steal him from you?" Hearing Shui Yu-er's words, the other members of the Tianshui battle team all looked over at Shui Bing. Seeing the curious gazes of the surrounding sisters, Shui Bing could only glare fiercely at Shui Yu. She regretted bringing up such a topic, but she explained, Are you joking? His Highness Wang Kai is the holy son of the Martial Spirit Hall. How could we possibly be related to him?" "Sister Bing, you just said that you wanted to relate to His Highness Wang Kai. Could it be that Sister Bing has really fallen in love with His Highness Wang Kai?" Hearing Shui Bing-er's words, a tall and handsome girl from the Tianshui battle team smiled and asked. She was the second strongest person in the Tianshui battle team, and also the vice captain, Shui Wu. Sister Shui Wu, don't be so picky. I didn't mean it that way." Hearing Shui Wu's words, Shui Bing-er's tone became more anxious. Although the Tianshui Academy didn't forbid female students from dating, girls were always shy. Being gossiped about who she liked by a group of sisters, Shui Bing-er couldn't help but want to find a hole to hide in. All right. Binger, look at how anxious you are. I was just joking. Do you have to be so anxious? Looking at Shui Bing-er's appearance, how could the exquisite Shui Wu not guess what Shui Bing-er meant? However, in her heart, regardless of status or appearance, Wang Kai was definitely worthy of their big sister, Shui Bing-er. Therefore, in order to prevent her teasing from making Shui Bing, who was sick of Wang Kai, she didn't continue to pester Shui Bing-er. Just as the girls from the Tianshui battle team were teasing and playing with each other, there was a sudden commotion from the entrance of the preparation hall. Following that, a team of students wearing strange attire walked out from the entrance. Compared to the other teams, which had dazzling colors such as gold, silver, red, and white, embroidered with all kinds of complicated decorations, beautiful patterns, and mighty academy logos, the team members of this team were wearing could really be called the word weirdo. It made people blush with shame. The color of this team's uniform was actually a kind of sh*T green between yellow and green. Just looking at it gave people a feeling of nausea. Not only that, there was a Shrek monster embroidered on each of their chests, which took up almost half of the area in front of them. The color of this group was a vibrant emerald green. On their faces, there was a strange mask that covered their faces. However, this was not the most bizarre part. On the back of this team's robes, there were actually more than 10 large words embroidered on them. Endless charm, strange fragrance flower dew, wash to be healthier. This also caused the various teams in the preparation hall to cast strange gazes at them. Chapter 2:17. There was no doubt that the team members in front of Wang Kai were from Shrek Academy. Furthermore, his main enemy in the near future, the Child of Destiny, Tang San, was also a member of this team. Although Shrek Academy's team members were all wearing masks, this didn't hinder the effects of the Eye of Detection. As a result, Wang Kai also used his Eye of Detection to observe them as he sized them up. While Wang Kai was observing Shrek's 7 monsters, the majority of the teams in the preparation hall also turned their curious gazes towards Shrek's team. Although the teams from the Heavendoe Imperial City had seen Shrek's 7 monsters' weird uniforms before, there were more teams from other regions, and even the Star Luo Empire. Now that Shrek's team had appeared, their weird uniforms naturally attracted everyone's attention. Shrek Academy's students didn't feel very good when they saw the strange looks that were cast towards them. As a result, they hurriedly left through the main entrance and found a corner to sit down. Although the quality of the Soul Masters who had entered the qualifier round was much better than the commoners outside, and most of them didn't talk much about Shrek's 7 monsters' weird uniforms, there were still many Soul Masters from aristocratic families who looked at them with disdain. In such a sacred and dignified tournament, these people were actually doing something as tacky as advertising. They were really embarrassing Soul Masters. At this moment, Wang Kai also saw the soul of Shrek Academy's teachers. They were the Golden Iron Triangle, Flinder, Lu Erlong, and Yu Xiaojiang. The leader of the 3 was a black-haired middle-aged man who wore a black robe and wore a pair of black-framed glasses. His eyes were bright and full of expression. He had a head of messy hair that resembled the style of a punk, and there was a silver belt around his waist. He seemed to be very spirited. This was Flinder, the dean of Shrek Academy. His martial soul was a 4-eyed owl, and he was a soul sage. Even though he was already over 50 years old, Flinder was still in the prime of his life due to the fact that a soul sage could live for 120 years. However, he didn't look too old. Behind Flinder was a gray-haired, haggard, middle-aged man in a brown suit and a tall, young woman in a blue robe with a rosy face. Without a doubt, this old man was the one known as the theoretical genius of the world of soul cultivators, Yu Xiaojiang. Even though he was about the same age as Flinder, he was far weaker than Flinder, who was a soul sage. In addition to his tragic past, his face was filled with the scars of time. As for the young woman, she was naturally Lu Erlong, Yu Xiaojiang's cousin and lover, the Horn of Massacre of the Golden Iron Triangle, and one of the teachers of Shrek Academy. Even though Lu Erlong was already 50 years old, she paid more attention to maintaining her appearance as a woman. As a result, her appearance wasn't much different from that of a 30-year-old woman, and she still had some charm. Of course, even though Lu Erlong still had some beauty, her appearance was only at the level of a beauty in Wang Kai's heart. In addition to her actual age, Wang Kai wasn't interested in her at all. One had to know that even if he randomly grabbed a girl from the Skywater Academy, she would definitely be much prettier than Lu Erlong. When he thought about Lu Erlong's age, it was even more boring. At this moment, Wang Kai had already used his detection eye to check the specific strength of Shrek's 7 monsters and the other members of Shrek's team. As the successor chosen by the gods and the current generation's child of destiny, Tang San's increase in strength was naturally the highest out of everyone present. His cultivation had reached rank 54, which was a huge increase compared to the original timeline. As a team that hadn't been famous in the past, Shrek Academy's results had earned them the title of a dark horse. At the same time, they had also attracted the attention of the Martial Soul Hall. However, Tang San hadn't fought even once in the qualifiers, so the Martial Soul Hall hadn't been able to obtain any specific data on Tang San's strength and soul skills. This made Wang Kai feel a little disappointed. As for the other 6 members of Shrek's 7 monsters, Dai Mubai's strength had increased from rank 44 to rank 53, and Zhu Zhuqing's strength had increased from rank 42 to rank 51. This meant that 3 Soul Kings had appeared in Shrek's 7 monsters, and their strength had increased tremendously. Of course, Shrek Academy had only revealed the strength of 1 Soul King, Zhu Zhuqing, in the previous qualifiers, and had concealed their true strength greatly. Of the remaining 4, Oscar, Ning Rongrong, and Ma Hongjun had all reached rank 49, while Xiao Wu had reached rank 45. Even Shrek Academy's 3 substitutes, Huang Yuan, Jiang Zhu, and Jing Ling, were all soul ancestors. The arrival of Shrek Academy didn't attract the attention of everyone for a long time, because very soon, even more academies entered the preparation hall. The tall and big Leopardia Academy's team that resembled a mountain of flesh, the Star Luo Iron Blood Academy's team that was dressed in battle armor and exuded a murderous aura, and the Godwind Academy's team that was dressed in green and moving elegantly. Not long after, all the academies had entered the preparation hall. After a while, it was 8 in the morning, and the opening ceremony of the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Tournament officially began. The first event of the opening ceremony was for each academy's team to make an appearance. This procedure was very similar to the entrance of the Blue Stars athletes. As the Martial Soul Hall's own team, Wang Kai and his team members were arranged to be the first to enter. At this time, the audience in the Great Soul Dueling Arena was already in place, and a grand and passionate symphony resounded in the Great Soul Dueling Arena. At this time, the host's voice resounded throughout the entire Great Soul Dueling Arena from the sound-amplifying Soul Tool. Distinguished guests, we are very honored to be able to gather here to participate in this grand occasion of the world of Soul Masters. First, let us invite the 32 teams that emerged from the qualifiers to make an appearance. After a pause, the host's voice rang out again. The first team to make an appearance is the legendary team that won the championship twice in the last 3 editions of the Soul Master Tournament. All the members of this team are from the host of this tournament, the Martial Soul Hall. Let us invite the Martial Soul Battle Team 1 to make an appearance. Following the host's words, the staff members who were already waiting in the preparation hall led Wang Kai and the other members of the Martial Soul Battle Team 1 to the entrance of the Great Soul Dueling Arena. Shortly after, Wang Kai walked in front, leading the other 10 team members out with their heads held high and chests puffed out. Chapter 218. Under the watchful eyes of the audience, Wang Kai brought the members of the Martial Spirit Hall to the center of the Great Soul Arena. Right in front of them were the high-ranking members of the Martial Soul Hall, the high-ranking Soul Masters who were invited, and the nobles of the 2 empires. On the other 3 sides were the ordinary spectators who had come to watch the fight. Of course, the ordinary spectators weren't ordinary at all. Most of the people who were able to enter the Soul Dueling Arena were either Soul Exalts or Nobles. After all, a single ticket to the opening ceremony cost 1,000 gold soul coins. That wasn't a price any commoner could afford. Now, the members of the Martial Spirit Hall are standing in front of you. Leading them is the captain of the Martial Spirit Hall, Wang Kai. He's also the holy son of the martial spirit hall. Wang Kai was already a rank 57 high-ranking soul king a year ago. I wonder how strong he's become now. After Wang Kai and the others stood still, the host introduced them loudly. After hearing the host's words, Wang Kai waved his hand to greet the audience. At this time, the other teams in the waiting hall also heard about Wang Kai's strength. They all had different expressions on their faces. Some were shocked, some were disappointed, but most of the team members were full of fighting spirit. They could lose against a strong opponent, but they couldn't be afraid. Vice captain of the martial spirit hall, Evil Moon. After Wang Kai waved his hand to the audience, the host announced the next team member. After hearing the host's words, Evil Moon smiled and waved his hand to the audience. Member of the martial spirit hall, Hulaina. Member of the martial spirit hall, Jiangjing. Member of the martial spirit hall, Yu Hao. Shortly after, the host introduced the names of the other team members to the audience one by one. When Hulaina introduced herself, the audience's enthusiasm was instantly ignited. After all, soul masters were also humans, and they also liked beautiful women. Furthermore, Hulaina's appearance was definitely one of the best amongst the beauties. Coupled with the faintly discernible charm that came with her martial soul, she was able to attract the good feelings of the males. After Martial Spirit Palace, the Imperial Star Luo battle team, who had won the championship once in the past 3 tournaments, took to the field. After the Imperial Star Luo battle team, the Heavendo battle team was the 3rd team to enter the promotion round. Immediately after, the God Wind Academy, Star Luo Iron and Blood Academy, Botany Academy, one by one, the battle teams made their appearance one after another. When the beautiful Heavenly Water Academy appeared on the stage, the atmosphere in the entire arena once again reached its peak. Dozens of minutes passed, and more than 20 teams had already appeared in front of the audience. Following which, it was Shrek Academy's turn. Next up is Shrek Academy from the Heavendo Empire. I'm sure many of you have never heard of this academy. That's right, this is their first time entering the promotion round of the Soul Master Tournament. And this team also has a Soul King Soul Master. Now, let us welcome this Dark Horse team, Shrek Academy, onto the stage. Following the host's words, Shrek Academy's team members could only leave the preparation hall with awkward hearts. Wearing their team uniforms with the Flower Dew advertisement, they walked into the Great Soul Arena. Before entering the arena, they had already been asked by the staff to remove their masks. Thus, after entering the arena, they felt more and more uncomfortable, and their expressions were a little unnatural. Seeing Shrek Academy's strange green outfit, many Soul Masters couldn't help but reveal expressions of laughter. There were also some sharp-eyed Soul Masters who saw the advertisement behind them and softly read it out loud, welcoming waves of laughter. Now, let us welcome Shrek's captain, Dai Mubai. Following the host's words, the golden-haired Dai Mubai strode forward with large strides and greeted the audience with a bright smile. At this moment, a male and a female Soul Master from the Imperial Star Luo Empire revealed astonished expressions on their faces. This male Soul Master's appearance was somewhat similar to Dai Mubai's, but his figure was a little taller than Dai Mubai's. His long golden hair draped over his back, and this male, Li Jingheng, revealed a lazy expression. His eyes were translucent with purple light, and although the smile on his face was very casual, it revealed a hint of a superior smile. The young lady beside him had a head of black hair and a tall figure. She was only slightly shorter than the male Soul Master. She had an extremely voluptuous figure and white jade-like skin. She was rather beautiful, and there was a trace of a superior's graceful smile on her face. Her arm was wrapped around the golden-haired male Soul Master's arm. Her appearance was very similar to that of Zhu Zhuqing and Wang Kai Zhu Yiling, but she lacked Zhu Zhuqing's coldness. She looked very gentle and beautiful. These 2 Soul Masters were none other than Dai Mubai's elder brother, Davis, and Zhu Zhuqing's elder sister, Zhu Zhuyan. They were also the strongest contenders for the next successor of the Star Luo Empire. However, when they saw Dai Mubai, their faces were no longer calm. Instead, They revealed a trace of astonishment and seriousness. Teacher, have you collected any information on this team from Shrek Academy? With a slight frown, Davis asked a white-haired old man next to him. Of course, Your Highness. This is the information on Shrek Academy's team. Please take a look. After hearing Davis's instructions, the elder smiled and passed the information on Shrek Academy's team to Davis. Davis and Zhu Zhuyun also looked at the information in their hands. Impossible. How can Zhu Zhuqing become a Soul King? Looking at the information in her hands, Zhu Zhiyun's tranquil face suddenly revealed an incredulous expression. Her eyes flashed with astonishment, and her mouth said in astonishment, I also think it's impossible. Zhu Zhuqing's talent isn't better than yours. Furthermore, ever since she and Dai Mubai voluntarily left the Star Luo Empire, they didn't receive any rich cultivation resources. But now, their cultivation is almost catching up to ours. You have to know that they're younger than us. As he spoke, a trace of coldness appeared in Davis's eyes. Yes, it seems like we've been deceived by this adulterous pair. We have to take action after this. As she spoke, a trace of killing intent appeared in Zhu Zhiyun's eyes. Chapter 219. The vice-captain of Shrek Academy's team, Tang San. While Davis and Zhu Zhiyun were shocked by Dai Mubai's appearance and Zhu Zhuqing's strength, the host didn't stop speaking. Instead, he continued to announce the name of Shrek Academy's next member, Tang San. Hearing this name, Wang Kai's spirit was immediately lifted. Then he stared at the blue-haired man who took a step forward in the middle of the field. Tang San was about 1.8 meters tall, with a tall and sturdy figure and broad shoulders. Although Tang San was only a control-type soul master, his figure was very sturdy. Wang Kai naturally knew the reason for this. Tang San was a special twin martial soul master, and his second martial soul was the continent's strongest tool martial soul, the Clear Sky Hammer. Tang San's powerful physique was inextricably linked to his Clear Sky Hammer martial soul. Looking up at Tang San's body, Tang San's skin was quite fair. It was only slightly worse than Wang Kai's, who had undergone several meridians cleansing. Tang San's palms had a beautiful jade-like luster, appearing like a perfect work of art. Needless to say, this was the effect of Tang San's mysterious jade hands. Immediately, Wang Kai looked at Tang San's face. Tang San's head had a head of blue hair. Although this hair was of a certain length, it didn't appear messy. Tang San's face was also quite upright. His eyes were deep and had a faint purple aura, giving his eyes a sense of mystery. Wang Kai also understood that this purple aura was the effect of another technique that Tang San brought from another world. The purple demon eyes. Tang San's appearance immediately attracted the attention of the girls present. Although Tang San's appearance was clearly inferior to Wang Kai's, Wang Kai was the holy son of the Martial Soul Hall. The girls present knew that they had no chance of marrying Wang Kai. However, Tang San was different from Wang Kai. From his attire, Tang San was clearly a commoner soul master. However, his appearance was quite handsome and could attract the hearts of the girls. At the same time, being able to enter the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Tournament's advancement round also proved Tang San's talent. To these girls from aristocratic or soul master families, a commoner soul master like Tang San was their best target. Shrek Academy's team members, Shrek's team member, Ning Rongrong. Shrek Academy's team member, Oscar. When the host called Ning Rongrong's name, Ning Fengji, who was sitting in the VIP seats, suddenly showed a satisfied expression. Soon, all the members of Shrek Academy's team had finished their introductions, and then they left under the guidance of the host. Immediately, the next team continued to walk to the center of the Great Soul Arena. About half an hour later, all the team introductions were finally over, and the next stage of the opening ceremony officially began. Now, let's invite the representative of the organizer of the Soul Master Tournament, His Majesty Holy Dragon Doa of the Martial Soul Hall, to speak. Following the host's words, a black-haired middle-aged man in a gorgeous white robe with a square face in the VIP seats stood up, and then he strode to the podium. When he stood still, several staff members at the side immediately came forward and gave him a loudspeaker soul tool. Looking at this middle-aged man, the chatting crowd in the arena almost stopped at once, and the noisy Great Soul arena also quieted down. Although there was no one to command, everyone still instinctively maintained reverence for a titled Daw, just like the people on Blue Planet meeting a high-ranking official. I, Elder Holy Dragon of the Martial Soul Hall, on behalf of the Martial Soul Hall and the organizer of this tournament, announced the start of this year's Pan-Continent Advanced Soul Master Academy Tournament. Following the Holy Dragon Deloa's words, thunderous applause suddenly rang out in the Great Soul Arena. The Holy Dragon Deloa paused, then raised his right hand and gently waved to the audience, indicating everyone to be quiet, and then he continued to speak. The Pan-Continent Advanced Soul Master Academy Tournament is a competition for the best young soul masters on our Dolua continent. Congratulations to the team members who were able to pass the preliminaries and enter our Soul Master Academy Tournament. You are all the best young soul masters on the Dolua continent, and also the pride and future of our Dolua continent. Here, I hope that every soul master participating in this tournament will be able to unleash their full potential and achieve good results. As someone who has experienced this before, I wish to give you my most sincere blessings. Following the Holy Dragon Deloa's words, thunderous applause and cheers rose and fell again. After waiting for the applause to fall silent again, the Holy Dragon Deloa continued in a deep voice, "Of course, I also want to reiterate some of the requirements of this tournament. First of all, this tournament is only about victory and defeat, not about life and death. Our goal in organizing this tournament is to encourage the new generation of soul masters to work hard in their cultivation, not to determine who is better than the other. Children, you are all the future hope of the Dolua continent, so I hope that you can all grow up safely. Therefore, I also hope that you will not deliberately hurt your opponents in the tournament. Secondly, this Soul Master tournament is meant to test a Soul Master's abilities and not their wealth. Because of this, all soul tools, weapons, and defensive equipment were not allowed to be used. They were also not allowed to use food that didn't belong to a food-type Soul Master, nor were they allowed to use soul skills that didn't belong to a Soul Master. If anyone dares to secretly break the rules, we will immediately strip them of their right to compete and expel them from the competition. Thirdly, and this is also my personal opinion, in this tournament, you are all opponents, but in your future life and cultivation, you may become friends. Therefore, don't treat those who defeat you as enemies. Treat your opponents with sincerity, kindness, and tolerance. It's always better to have one more friend than one more enemy. Finally, on behalf of the Martial Soul Hall, I would like to extend an invitation to all the Soul Masters who have entered the qualifiers. I believe that all of you will graduate after the tournament. After you graduate, whether you are a Soul Master from the Heaven Do Empire or the Star Luo Empire, the doors of the Martial Soul Hall will be open to all of you. As long as you are willing to join the Martial Soul Hall, you will enjoy the benefits of being a member of the Martial Soul Hall one rank higher than you, until you become a Soul Sage and become a white-robed bishop. If you can pass the qualifiers and become one of the 8 teams in the finals, the Martial Soul Hall will make an exception and allow you to directly join the Martial Soul Hall. Chapter 220. The Martial Soul Temple. Scorching anticipation immediately appeared in the eyes of the vast majority of participants upon hearing the Holy Dragon Dolua's words. What kind of place was the Martial Soul Temple? The Martial Soul Temple was second only to the Supreme Pontiff, Doa, and Elder Hall. It was a holy land that soul masters could only dream of entering in the Martial Soul Temple and the Martial Soul Temple in the 2 empires' capitals. In the Martial Soul Temple, the Supreme Pontiff's palace was the place where the Supreme Pontiff lived. The Dolua Hall was the symbol of the Martial Soul Temple, and the Elder Hall was the organization for titled Doa and above. As such, the Martial Soul Temple was the highest level of organization in the Martial Soul Temple for ordinary soul masters. Being able to enter the Martial Soul Temple was a shortcut for any soul master to become stronger. Once a soul master entered the martial soul temple, they would receive the best training from the martial soul temple. Not only would they be able to enjoy an ocean of cultivation resources and the guidance of powerful soul masters, but they would also be able to enjoy the best treatment and the honor of being a member of the martial soul temple. Such conditions were extremely attractive to ordinary soul masters who were born in commoner families. Many of the soul masters present looked at the martial soul temple with yearning in their eyes. However, Emperor Shui and Emperor Dai Aoyan's expressions darkened when they heard the holy dragon Dolua's words. A powerful soul master was the foundation of an organization. The young soul masters present were all outstanding individuals of the younger generation, and all of them had the potential to become soul sages. Any one of them could become the backbone of an organization in the future. Obviously, the Martial Spirit Palace's method of snatching talents was no different from cutting the flesh of the two empires. It was no wonder that the two great emperors were so displeased. Now, let us invite one of the organizers of this tournament, Emperor Shui of the Heaven Do Empire, to speak. The Holy Dragon Dolua announced the commencement of the competition before returning to his seat. Immediately thereafter, the opening ceremony of the competition continued as the MC spoke. Following the host's words, a white-haired old man sitting in the first row of the VIP area slowly stood up. This old man wore a golden red robe embroidered with several dragons bearing their fangs and brandishing their claws. He looked mighty and domineering, and on his head was a dazzling golden diamond crown. The crown was inlaid with a fist-sized golden diamond, and beside it were countless colorful gems. It looked extremely gorgeous and beautiful. This elder's expression was very calm, but he exuded an aura of superiority. His eyes were as calm as a well, as if he had seen through everything in the world. Although his face looked a little old, his aura was very strong. Just by standing there, he gave people the feeling that everything around him was centered around him. In the current timeline, Chihiro Snow didn't infiltrate the Heaven Do Empire because of her own reasons. Naturally, she couldn't poison Emperor Shui, who was thousands of miles away. As a result, Emperor Shui didn't seem tired at all. Instead, he seemed to be in high spirits. As soon as the snowy Night Emperor stood up, the audience parted a path for him. Behind him was a gray-robed elder who was supposed to be his bodyguard. The snowy Night Emperor walked up to the podium under the watchful eyes of the soul cultivators and nobles of the Heaven Do Empire. Enthusiastic applause rang out once more. However, the applause this time was much more sparse than the first. The soul masters and nobles of the Star Luo Empire only clapped symbolically for the emperor of another empire. They weren't as enthusiastic as when the Holy Dragon Dolua took the stage. At this moment, Wang Kai turned to look at Emperor Shui. Although Emperor Shui wasn't very strong, and was only a soul king with the support of the imperial family, Wang Kai had to admit that Emperor Shui was a very courageous and daring ruler. In the original timeline, when Emperor Shui saw Tang San's talent and potential, he immediately invested heavily in Tang San. Not only did he make Tang San the Grand Tutor of the Crown Prince, he even gave him the Heaven Do Empire's national treasure, the vast sea cosmic shroud. Of course, the Snowy Night Emperor's investment also paid off in the end. Tang San, whom he invested in, eventually became a god, and Tang San returned the favor by protecting the Heaven Do Empire's legacy for 10,000 years. Emperor Shui was definitely one of the obstacles in his future plans to conquer the Dolua continent. However, Wang Kai also believed that as long as he was strong enough, under the suppression of his absolute strength, no schemes or tricks would be able to stop him. Emperor Shui cleared his throat in front of the sound-amplifying soul tool. After that, he said in a deep voice, "I'm very happy to see all of you here, the geniuses of this generation of soul masters. Here, I sincerely wish that all the soul masters from the Heaven Do Empire, the Star Do Empire, and the Martial Soul Hall will be able to unleash their full strength in the tournament. Show off your best and achieve the results you want. And here, as the Emperor of the Heaven Do Empire, I would like to congratulate all the Soul Master teams that have entered the Heaven Do Empire. Congratulations to you. All of you are the pride of the Heaven Do Empire. Every time you win glory for yourself, your academy, and the Heaven Do Empire. For the glory of the Empire, go and fight. Do your best to display your brilliance. After hearing Emperor Shui Ye's words, many of the Heaven Do Empire's Soul Masters were moved and excited. After that, they started to clap enthusiastically. After the applause stopped, Emperor Shui Yi continued. At the same time, I would like to tell all the genius Soul Masters from the Heaven Do Empire who have entered the qualifiers that the Empire needs outstanding talents like all of you. The Empire also values Soul Masters who are willing to serve the Empire, especially talented Soul Masters like all of you. Earlier, His Majesty Sheng Long from the Martial Soul Hall said that if all of you are willing to join the Martial Soul Hall, the Martial Soul Hall will provide extremely generous conditions for Soul Masters who have entered the qualifiers and finals. I would also like to tell all of you that if you are willing to stay in the Heaven Do Empire after graduation, we will do our best to nurture all of you. If the Martial Soul Hall is willing to provide one portion of resources to nurture all of you, the Heaven Do Empire is willing to provide 2 portions. The Heaven Do Empire will not mistreat any Soul Master who is willing to join the Heaven Do Empire. Chapter 2:21. Aside from that, if you are willing to serve the Heaven Do Empire after you graduate, the Empire will bestow upon you the title of Baron. As the captain and vice-captain of each team, your strength will play an important role in the competition. Therefore, if you are willing to join the Empire will bestow upon you the title of Viscount. The eyes of the Heaven Do Empire's Soul Masters lit up at the words of the Snowy Night Emperor. Their hearts were filled with eagerness. Whether it was the Heaven Do Empire or the Star Luo Empire, the ranks of nobility were divided into Duke, Marquis, Count, Viscount, and Baron. Generally speaking, as long as a Soul Ancestor was willing to serve the Empire, they would be able to obtain the title of Baron. A Soul King would be able to obtain the title of Viscount. However, these nobles were only nobles of the imperial court. They would only be able to obtain an honorary title with no land or inheritance. They would only be able to receive a monthly allowance from the Empire. However, what the Snowy Night Emperor promised was not an honorary title of nobility, but a hereditary title of nobility with their own territory that could be inherited. A Viscount's territory was usually a small city. Furthermore, they would have their own territory and guards. They would also be able to receive a large sum of money from the Heaven Do Empire. Whether it was cultivation or living, they would have no worries. In comparison, the Martial Soul Hall's promise was very generous, but it was still lacking. The Martial Soul Hall's promise was more for the Soul Masters themselves. The Heaven Do Empire's reward was the foundation of a Soul Master's family. After hearing the Snowy Night Emperor's words, many of the Soul Masters who originally wanted to join the Martial Soul Hall hesitated. Even the Holy Dragon Doloa had a sinister look on his face. Other than that, I also promise that if any team can enter the finals through the qualifier round, the Empire will help them obtain their 4th and 5th soul rings in addition to the rewards I promised before. There are many strong individuals in the Empire. Therefore, as long as you are willing to join the Empire will guarantee you the best soul ring configuration for your 4th and 5th soul rings. Not only that, the Empire will also prepare a generous reward of gold soul coins for you. After hearing the Snowy Night Emperor's words, the eyes of the Heaven Do Empire's students were filled with yearning. To a Soul Master, rank 50 wasn't as important as rank 30. However, rank 50 was the first level a normal Soul Master could obtain a 10,000-year soul ring. The strength of the first 10,000-year soul ring was extremely important to every Soul Master's future. At the same time, a Soul Master's cultivation speed would greatly decrease from rank 50 onwards. If they could obtain a 10,000-year soul ring as a guarantee, they would undoubtedly be able to maintain their strength from rank 50 to rank 60. It would be extremely beneficial to their future development. So it was no wonder that these Soul Masters were so tempted. And if there are teams that enter the top 3, Then in addition to the previous rewards, I promise that you will receive an additional nobility title. In other words, if such a team is willing to join our Heaven Do Empire, then their captain and vice-captain will directly be conferred the title of Count, while every single member will be conferred the title of Viscount. Apart from that, our empire will provide you with all the soul beasts you need before you become a soul sage, regardless of whether you're a member or the leader. Not only that, but you can also choose the type of soul beast you want. The empire can guarantee any soul beast with a cultivation of 30,000 years and below. The Snowy Knight Emperor smiled in satisfaction as he looked down at the Heaven Do Empire's soul masters. These soul masters were the foundation of the Heaven Do Empire's future. They couldn't just hand it over to anyone else. What frightening boldness! Even though the Snowy Knight Emperor isn't very strong, he's truly a man of great talent and foresight. After hearing the Snowy Knight Emperor's words, Wang Kai couldn't help but admire the Snowy Knight Emperor's boldness. Faced with such conditions, the Martial Soul Temple's offer to join the Martial Soul Temple was like a firefly to the moon. It wasn't very attractive at all. Account's territory was at least a medium-sized city with a population of 100,000. Only titled law or soul masters who had contributed greatly to the Heaven Do Empire had the right to enjoy such a fiefdom. Now, the Snowy Knight Emperor was giving such a generous reward to the top 3 teams in the finals. It was a sign of how much he valued them. Of course, the Snowy Knight Emperor's actions weren't without reason. For those teams that could enter the top 3 in the finals, their captains and members might not be able to become title Doa, but they definitely wouldn't have a problem becoming Soul Doloa. Using the title of account to rope in a Soul Doloa might seem like a loss, but if they could rope in a future title Doloa, it wouldn't be a loss for the Heaven Do Empire. Instead, it would be a huge gain. As for preparing soul rings for soul masters before they became soul sages, it was also a very attractive option. For most commoners who came from academies, the most the academies could do was to help them obtain their 5th soul ring. As for higher-ranked soul rings, they had to rely on their own efforts. Obtaining soul rings wasn't a simple thing. It was fraught with danger. Every year, many soul masters died in the various large soul beast forests because they wanted to obtain soul rings. News of entire soul master teams being wiped out was also endless. A 30,000-year soul beast soul ring was definitely a high-quality soul ring that an ordinary soul master could obtain when he or she became a soul sage. However, a 30,000-year soul beast fighting strength was comparable to that of a high-tier soul sage. For a soul master who was about to become a soul sage, it was almost impossible to kill a 30,000-year soul beast alone. Even if a soul hunter team was formed and led by soul sage, it wasn't guaranteed that they could kill a 30,000-year soul beast. There was even a chance that they would be killed instead. Right now, the Heaven Do Empire had actually proposed a condition that could prevent soul masters from facing such life-threatening dangers and ensure that they could successfully become soul sages. This was a very generous choice. To many soul masters, this promise was even more tempting than the title of account. The hearts of all the soul masters present couldn't help but beat faster. Even Tang San, who was the child of the plain, couldn't remain calm. At this moment, the smile in the Snowy Knight Emperor's eyes became even more radiant. He immediately continued, "Lastly, if any of your teams are lucky enough to win the final round, your title will be promoted even though your territory won't be upgraded. Furthermore, your academies can add the words Imperial Family to their titles, and you'll receive financial support from the Empire." Chapter 222. After the Snowy Knight Emperor finished speaking, he left the stage under the fervent gazes of the Heaven Do Empire's soul masters. He returned to his seat, and the host invited the Star Luo Empire's Emperor, Dai Outyin, to speak. Dai Outyin was only a few years younger than the Snowy Knight Emperor, but his soul power was at the pinnacle of the Doloa level. Dai Outyin's life force and energy were at their peak. Therefore, no one could tell that he was close to 60 years old from his face. His footsteps were quick and steady. Unlike the Snowy Knight Emperor and the Holy Dragon Doloa, Dai Outyin encouraged the Star Luo Empire Soul Masters and promised them rewards. However, the rewards he promised were far less generous than the Martial Spirit Hall and the Heaven Do Empires. However, at the end of his speech, Dai Outyin said a few very domineering words. Students, I know that some of you want to join the Martial Spirit Hall. That's not a problem. Since you want to join the Martial Spirit Hall, I won't stop you. However, since you've chosen to join the Martial Spirit Hall, you'll be seen as a traitor in the Star Luo Empire. You and your family will be banished from the Star Luo Empire and will never be allowed to enter again. It was clear that the Star Luo Empire's imperial family was much stronger than the Heaven Do Empire's imperial family. They had more control over the Star Luo Empire, so they could take more effective measures against betrayal. Although Dai Outyin's daughter, Dai Qingli, was engaged to Wang Kai, it was only a marriage between two powers. Dai Outyin wouldn't allow the Martial Spirit Hall to steal from the Star Luo Empire. After hearing Dai Outyin's warning, many of the soul cultivators from the Star Luo Empire began to retract their thoughts. After all, the Star Luo Empire was a country that prided itself on its clans. If their clans were to become traitors and be expelled from the Star Luo Empire because of their own actions, the price to pay would be too great. However, there were many commoner soul masters in the Star Luo Empire's team. To them, the Martial Spirit Hall's invitation was still very attractive. They didn't have any powerful families behind them. If they could live a better life outside the Star Luo Empire, they were willing to accept such a price. This was also one of the reasons why the Martial Spirit Hall's soul masters rarely came from powerful families. After Dai Outyin's speech, Ning Fengji represented the sect and gave his blessings to the participating soul masters. Ning Fengji slowly walked to the center of the stage amidst the audience's applause. I'm very happy to be invited as a guest for the opening ceremony. This tournament, as the sect master, I've seen too many soul masters growth Luo Empire. Every soul master's cultivation academy has to undergo many hardships and trials and tribulations. However, what I want to say is that the sharpness of a treasured sword is sharpened, and the fragrance of plum blossoms comes from the bitter cold. Those who are able to participate in the Soul Master Tournament are undoubtedly the elites of the younger generation. Just as the Holy Dragon de Loire and their majesties have said, I hope that all of you will be able to unleash your full potential on the competition stage and achieve the results you desire. After all the representatives had finished speaking, the opening ceremony moved on to the next segment. It was also the most exciting segment, the grouping segment. There were a total of 32 teams that had entered the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Tournament's qualifying round. However, only 8 teams would be able to enter the final round. If the top 8 were to be decided through these one-on-one matches, many teams would be eliminated due to their bad luck, and it wouldn't be fair, even though it would be very quick. However, if every 2 teams had to compete, then the 32 teams would have to compete in close to 500 matches. The amount of time spent wouldn't be too much, and Soul Master's soul power and physical strength wouldn't be able to support such frequent battles. Therefore, as a compromise, this year's Soul Master Academy Tournament's qualifying round was decided by grouping the 32 teams into 4 groups. Each group had 8 people, and the Martial Soul Hall team, the Heaven Do Imperial Family team, and the Star Luo Imperial Family team were all placed in different groups. After the grouping, each group would have an average of 2 people who would advance to the next round. Within each group, the teams would compete in one-on-one matches, and the teams in each group would be ranked according to their number of victories. The top 2 teams would advance to the next round. However, there were still some loopholes in this system. After all, there were only 3 seeded teams, and one of the groups didn't have a seeded team. Furthermore, the strength of the teams in each group could be different. It was very possible that some of the teams in the group would be stronger, and some of the teams that had the strength to enter the finals would be eliminated. Although luck was also a factor in becoming a strong Soul Master, this was still a man-made tournament. Fairness was more important than luck. Therefore, apart from the top 2 teams in each group that would advance to the next round, the 3rd and 4th teams in each group would advance to the next round as the losers. After the winners and losers were decided, the teams in the winners group would be randomly divided into 4 groups to compete in one-on-one matches to determine the 4 losers. These 4 losers would then be divided into 2 groups to compete in one-on-one matches to determine the 2 weakest teams. Correspondingly, the losers group would also compete. However, the losers group would determine the 2 strongest teams. After this, the top 6 teams in the winners group would advance to the finals, and the bottom 2 teams in the winners group would compete in one-on-one matches with the top 2 teams in the losers group. After 6 matches, the 2 teams with the most victories would advance to the finals. This was the process of the qualifiers. Therefore, it was clear how important it was to be placed in a good group to advance to the finals. After all, although entering the winners group didn't mean that they would advance, it was already a kind of glory to be able to advance. If they could be placed in the 4th group without a strong seeded team, it would undoubtedly increase their chances of advancing. At the same time, they could avoid exposing their trump cards, so they could deal a fatal blow to their opponents when they least expected it. After returning to the center of the podium, the MC smiled at the audience. After that, he continued to say, "Next, let's invite the representatives of the various teams to draw lots for the qualifiers. After the drawing of lots, the opening ceremony will officially end. The first round of the qualifiers will begin in the afternoon, and the 4 groups will compete in 1 match each." Chapter 2:23. First, let us invite His Majesty Shui Yi of the Heaven Do Empire, His Majesty Dai Out Yin of the Star Luo Empire, His Majesty Holy Dragon Doluo of the Martial Soul Hall, and Mr. Ning Fengji of the 7 Treasures Glaze Sect to come up to the stage and supervise the drawing of lots. The host's voice was broadcasted throughout the entire Great Soul Arena. The Holy Dragon Doluo and the other 3 stood up and walked up to the podium. At the same time, several staff members of the competition brought an opaque red lottery box and a few tennis ball-sized grouping balls onto the podium. There are a total of 29 group balls here. They all have a number, and these numbers are from 4 to 32. Apart from that, the size, weight, and appearance of these grouping balls are all the same. None of them have any markings on them. Now, I would like to invite the 4 of you to inspect these balls. Following the MC's instructions, the workers placed the numbered balls in front of the Holy Dragon Doa and the others for inspection. After the inspection, all of them nodded in unison to indicate to the MC and the audience that there were no issues with the balls. Very good. The 4 of you have unanimously agreed that there are no problems with the grouping balls. Now, let us move on to the next segment. We will insert and shuffle the grouping balls. Following the MC's instructions, the workers began to place the balls into the lottery boxes one by one. After that, the Holy Dragon Doa and the others began to shake the boxes one by one, completely messing up the positions of the balls. Ladies and gentlemen, the 4 of you have completed the shuffling of the grouping balls. Next, it will be the turn of the captains of each team to draw the grouping balls in order to determine the final grouping. However, before that, let me explain the rules of grouping. In the competition, the 3 teams that are guaranteed to advance to the next round are numbered 1 to 3. Among them, the Martial Soul Hall's Team 1 is numbered 1, the Star Luo Empire's Team 1 is numbered 2, and the Heaven Do Empire's Team 1 is numbered 3. Their groupings correspond to Group 1, Group 2, and Group 3. These 3 teams don't need to draw the grouping balls. The other teams will send their captains to draw the grouping balls according to the order I call. If a team draws the number 5, 9, 13, and so on, then this team will be divided into 1 group. If they draw the numbers 6, 10, 14, and so on, then this team will be divided into 2 groups. The rest of the numbers will also be divided into 2 groups, and the rest of the numbers will be calculated in the same order. Now, let me announce the start of the grouping round. First, let us invite the captains of the Star Luo Iron Blood Battle team from the Star Luo Empire to draw lots. After the host finished speaking, a black-haired young man stood up. His face was resolute, and his eyes were bloodthirsty and filled with murderous intent. His movements were swift and decisive, without the summness, the Iron Blood Battle team. Under the gazes of the audience, the Star Luo Long and the Star Luo of Tang Academy. What a fierce aura Star Luo. As Star Luo Academy is Star Academy. Wang Kai was slightly taken aback as he looked at this soul master from Star Luo Iron Blood Academy. However, he sighed in his heart. This competitor is not allowed to use any methods to detect the numbers of the grouping balls in the lottery box, nor are you allowed to use any methods to leave any traces on the other balls. Otherwise, your entire team will be disqualified and banned from participating in the next 3 editions of the Soul Master Tournament. Do you understand? The host reminded the young man when he came up to the stage. Understand. The young man's deep and magnetic voice sounded. After that, he drew a grouping ball from the lottery box. Star Luo Iron Blood Battle Team. Grouping ball number 13. Group result, Group 1. The host looked at the young man with a pitiful expression when he took the grouping ball from his hand. After that, he announced the results to the audience through the loudspeaker. Group 1 was the grouping of Wang Kai's Team 1 from Martial Soul Hall. Team 1 of the Martial Spirit Palace teams possessed great strength and would almost certainly obtain a chance to advance. Therefore, the other teams that were placed in Group 1 would undoubtedly have a smaller chance of advancing. Furthermore, Group 1 was the group that most teams did not wish to be placed in. After hearing the host's words, the young man didn't reveal any fear in his eyes. Instead, he looked at Team 1 from Martial Soul Hall with a provocative look. The Star Luo Iron Blood Academy was an academy in the Star Luo Empire that nurtured soul masters who served the Star Luo Empire's army. The atmosphere of this academy was very brave and aggressive. They dared to fight against all enemies. As a result, when they found out that they were going to clash with Team 1 from Martial Soul Hall, they didn't reveal any fear in their eyes. Instead, they revealed a ferocious fighting spirit. Group 2, please invite the team leader from Heavendo Empire's Blazing Academy to come up to the stage to draw lots. Following the host's words, Huo Wushuang, the captain of the Blazing Fire Academy, a tall and handsome red-haired man, walked out from the preparation area. Soon after, he arrived before the lottery box and extended his hand to pull out a grouping ball. Blazing Academy, grouping ball number 30. Group result, Group 2. After hearing the host's announcement, Huo Wushuang heaved a sigh of relief. Although the Blazing Academy wasn't placed in Group 4, which didn't have any seeded teams, being placed in Group 2 wasn't too bad. At least, Team 1 from Star Luo Imperial Family was much weaker than Team 1 from Martial Soul Hall. They had a certain chance of advancing. Group 3, please invite the team leader from Star Luo Empire's Carmen Academy to come up to the stage to draw lots. Following the host's words, a black-haired, skinny young man from Carmen Academy walked out from the preparation area and strode to the lottery box. After that, he closed his eyes and put his hand into the lottery box. After that, he took out a grouping ball and passed it to the host. Blazing Academy, grouping ball number 8. Group result, Group 4. After hearing the host's words, the black-haired young man's eyes immediately revealed a look of excitement. The other teams in the preparation area also looked at him with envious gazes. As a group that didn't have any seeded teams, Group 4 was undoubtedly the group that all the teams wanted to be placed in. In theory, their chances of advancing were also higher. After returning to his team, this team leader was surrounded by the other team members and enjoyed the treatment of a hero returning. Chapter 224. Songhui Academy, Group Ball number 9. Group result, Group 1. Black Sunflower Academy, Group Ball number 20. Group result, Group 4. Thunder Academy, Group Ball number 15. Group result, Group 3. Skywater Academy, Group Ball number 9. Group result, Group 1. Team after team received their specific groups, and now it was Skywater Academy's turn to draw lots. Looking at the number of the group ball in her hand, Shui Bing revealed a bitter expression. Now that they had encountered the Martial Spirit Palace Team 1 and the Star Luo Iron and Blood Academy, it seemed that they would not be able to advance to the next round as the winners. However, if they could enter the losers group, they would still have a chance to stand out. Shrek Academy, Group Ball Number 22. Group Result, Group 2. Very soon, it was time for Shrek Academy, which Wong Kai was most concerned about, to draw lots. After hearing the results of Shrek Academy's draw, Wong Kai frowned slightly. It seemed like he couldn't thrash Shrek's 7 monsters in the qualifier round. He had to wait until the finals to have a chance. However, this wasn't a problem. Even if Wong Kai could lead Team 1 from the Martial Soul Hall to defeat Shrek Academy, they could still rely on their strength to enter the finals. When the time came, they would still have to fight with them in the finals. Now that they had one less battle, it wasn't too unpleasant. Finally, all 29 teams finished drawing their lots, and the 4 groups were officially formed. There was no need to talk about the composition of the other 3 groups. Wong Kai's first group consisted of Team 1 the Martial Spirit Palace was from the Martial Spirit Palace. Team 1 from the Heaven Do Empire. 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 Team 1 from the Star Luo Ironblood Academy. Team 1 from the Purple Rainbow Academy. Team 1 from the Star Luo Empire. Since the groups were completed, the most important part of the opening ceremony was also over. The following process was nothing more than the referee's oath, the announcement of the competition's rewards, the announcement of the competition schedule, and other trivial matters. In each group, every 2 teams would have a group battle. Thus, in the end, each group would have a total of 28 battles. The 4 groups would have a total of 112 battles. Unlike cultivation civilizations, divine civilizations, and body-refining civilizations, where battles would often last for several days, battles between soul masters progressed very quickly. This was especially so for soul masters who had yet to become soul sages. Battles would often end in less than half an hour. Because of this, the rules of the advancement tournament were rather tight. Every day, the 8 squadrons in each group would engage in 4 battles, covering all 8 squadrons in the group. The 4 groups added up to 16 battles, with 8 battles in the morning and 8 in the afternoon. The winning team would be awarded 1 point, while the losing team would not be awarded any points. 1 week later, all the matches would end, and the winner and loser groups would be determined based on the number of points accumulated. If both teams had the same number of points, additional matches would be held. The next morning, in the Great Soul Arena. Next, let's begin the first match of the first day. Team 1 from the Martial Spirit Palace versus Team 1 from the Weevil Academy. Wong Kai and the members of Team 1 from the Martial Spirit Palace arrived at the Great Soul Arena early. At the same time, the other teams also arrived one after another. Under the announcer's announcement, the first match began under everyone's expectant eyes. As the first battle of the advancement tournament, this battle itself had a great symbolic meaning, not to mention that this was the first battle of the champion team of the previous tournaments, Team 1 from the Martial Spirit Palace. All the participating teams were very curious about the battle strength of Wong Kai and the other members of Team 1 from the Martial Spirit Palace. Now, let's welcome the members of Team 1 from the Martial Spirit Palace. Along with the announcer's voice, the 7 members of Team 1, including Wong Kai, Hulaina, Evil Moon, Yin Li Wiming, Yu Hao, Sulan, walked up from the right side of the Great Soul Arena with their heads held high and chests puffed out. At this moment, the 7 members of Team 1 from the Martial Spirit Palace were all dressed in light gold. In the center of their chests, there was a fist-sized soul character. All of them looked valiant and valiant. Under the illumination of the soul tools on the arena, although it was only daytime, they seemed to be releasing dazzling brilliance. They were like small golden suns, attracting the attention of the audience. Because they had an absolute lead in terms of strength, Li Ning's plan was very simple when facing the enemy. Send out the strongest team members and crush the opponent with crushing force. Of course, Li Ning was not an arrogant person. Although it was said that they would crush the opponent, it did not mean that Wong Kai and the other members would not hold back. This was because as long as they used part of their strength, Wong Kai and the other members would be able to crush the opponent. Before the battle, Li Ning had made a rule that Wong Kai, as the team leader, was only allowed to use his 3rd soul skill, Shura's Dragon Slayer Spear. Hulaina and Evil Moon's martial soul fusion skill would also be reserved as a trump card. As for the other soul masters, there were no restrictions on them. The appearance of Team 1 from the Martial Spirit Palace caused a stir. After the arena calmed down, the announcer continued. Now, let's welcome the members of Team 1 from the Weevil Academy. Soon, the 7 members of Team 1 from the Weevil Academy went up from the left side of the arena to the center. When they stepped onto the stage, the entire stage trembled with their footsteps. Those who ascended the stage did not look like 7 people at all, but more like 7 mountains. The 7 members of Team 1 from the Weevil Academy were all dressed in black. The shortest among them was more than 2 meters tall, and the tallest one was more than 2.5 meters tall. They stood in front of Team 1 from Team 1 from Team 1, looking down on them. Compared to their height, their weight was even more terrifying. According to Xiao Guang's estimation, among the 7 of them, the smallest was more than 150 kilograms, and the tallest one in the middle was at least 250 kilograms. They had the same black hair, but the sides were shaved, and the hair in the middle was combed into a strange ponytail. Their tan skin was not much worse than their clothes. The 7 of them stood in a row like a thick city wall, looking sturdy and majestic. Standing in the middle of them was the tallest and most muscular man. He took a step forward and spread his legs, causing the competition stage to rumble twice and shake violently. Chapter 225. These soul masters are so big. Yes, look at them. They're so ferocious. They're like jinxes that have descended to earth. You're wrong. What's the use of being big? A battle between soul masters isn't about their size or appearance. It's about their soul power and the strength of their soul rings. The spectators started to discuss among themselves when they saw the members of the Elephant Armor Academy enter the arena. Silence. Seeing the 2 participating teams enter the arena one after another, the referee shouted loudly, and the noisy discussions in the arena quickly quieted down. Both teams bow. The referee shouted when he saw that the arena had quietened down. Elephant Armor Academy, Team Leader, Huyen Li. Martial Soul, Diamond Mammoth. Rank 52 Defense Type, Soul King. The team leader's voice was muffled, and the fat on his body seemed to tremble with his voice. He glared at Wang Kai with a ferocious look in his eyes. Some of the soul masters who were more familiar with the sex were astonished when they heard Huyen Li's introduction. Huyen Li's Diamond Mammoth martial soul was extremely famous on the Dolua continent. This was because this martial soul belonged to the White Tiger sect, the Wind Sword sect, the Elephant Armor sect, and the Fire Leopard sect, which was one of the 4 lower sects of the 7 great sections. As the inherited martial soul of the Elephant Armor sect, the Diamond Mammoth was very powerful. Its characteristics were mainly reflected in its strength and defense. A Diamond Mammoth Soul Master was very strong, and the Diamond Mammoth's defense was the best among all martial souls. It was known as the strongest defense-type martial soul. Generally speaking, almost no soul master of the same rank could break through the defense of a disciple of the Elephant Armor sect who had the Diamond Mammoth. Even if the enemy was a rank higher than the disciple, a soul master with the Diamond Mammoth could rely on his or her defense to last for a long time. Take the sect leader of the Elephant Armor sect, for example. He was only a rank 87 soul Daw. However, with his martial soul and soul skills, he could withstand the attacks of a rank 91 or 92 title Daw for several hours. This was enough to show the strength of the Diamond Mammoth. Because of this, the Elephant Armor sect was known as the strongest defense-type sect. However, even though the Elephant Armor sect's defensive abilities were very strong, the Diamond Mammoth didn't have much of an advantage in terms of cultivation. As a result, the Elephant Armor sect didn't have a title Doloa. Otherwise, they wouldn't be ranked 6th among the 7 great sections. From the reports, Wang Kai and the other members of the Martial Soul Hall knew that the 7 members of the Elephant Armor team were all direct disciples of the Elephant Armor sect. One of them was a Soul King, while the others were all above rank 45. They could be said to be the elites of the new generation of the Elephant Armor sect. Not only that, these disciples of the Elephant Armor sect had trained together since they were young. They were adept at teamwork and their actual fighting strength was not something that normal students could compare to. Facing a Soul King from the Elephant Armor sect, his defense was so strong that it could withstand the attacks of an early-tier or even mid-tier Soul Emperor. This posed an awkward problem. Although Hu Laina, Evil Moon, and Yin were all geniuses of the Martial Soul Hall, their fighting strength was definitely not as heaven-defying as Wang Kai's. If they didn't use their Martial Soul fusion skills, although they could occasionally launch attacks comparable to a Soul Emperor's, they couldn't last for long. They might not be able to break through Hu Yanli's defenses. Furthermore, although the Elephant Armor team didn't have any auxiliary-type Soul Masters, their Soul Masters all had the same martial soul. They could stack their martial souls together. Furthermore, the arena wasn't very wide. It was only 100 meters in diameter. This was more suitable for the Elephant Armor sect. As a result, if they didn't send Wang Kai, it wouldn't be easy for them to defeat the Weaver Armor team with just Hu Laina, Evil Moon, Yin, and the other team members. They might even have to reveal their martial soul fusion skills. This was also the reason why Li Ning decided to send Wang Kai. Even if he only used Shura's dragon-slaying spear, Wang Kai's self-created spear technique was enough to unleash the strength of a high-tier Soul Emperor. It would be easy for him to defeat the Elephant Armor team. Furthermore, Wang Kai's rank would be exposed sooner or later. There was no need to hide it. It was best to keep his martial soul fusion skills as a trump card. Team 1 of the Martial Spirit Hall. Team Leader, Wang Kai. Martial Soul, Shura. Rank 63, Assault Type, Soul Emperor. Wang Kai did not back down and took a step forward. Although his body was smaller than Hu Yanli's and his voice was not as loud as Hu Yanli's, the shock that his words brought to the audience was 100 times greater than Hu Yanli's body size. Soul Emperor, did I hear wrongly? How is that possible? I heard that the Holy Son of the Martial Spirit Hall isn't even 20 years old. How can he be a Soul Emperor? Could it be that his martial soul is a legendary god-tier martial soul? Wang Kai's words undoubtedly set off a storm in the hearts of all the Soul Masters and even the nobles. Before this, the record for the youngest Soul Emperor was 27 years old. Furthermore, when that record was set, cultivation was much easier. However, Wang Kai had pushed this record back by almost 8 years. After hearing Wang Kai's report, everyone from Shrek Academy began to discuss spiritedly. Third brother, that Wang Kai is actually a Soul Emperor. Do you think we still have a chance to win the championship? The first to speak was the golden-haired Dai Mubai. To him, the Soul Master Tournament had another meaning. If he could obtain a good ranking in the Soul Master Tournament, he would have a chance to catch the eye of his father, Dai Outyin, and inherit the throne. Otherwise, if his brother, Davis, inherited the throne, Dai Mubai and Zhu Zhuqing were bound to be hunted down and killed. They would never be able to return to their homeland and could only live their lives in fear and trepidation. After Tang San had joined Shrek Academy, Dai Mubai had discovered that his cultivation had progressed by leaps and bounds. In just a few years, he had become a Soul King. Now, Shrek's team had 3 Soul Kings. Coupled with his martial soul fusion skill with Zhu Zhuqing, Dai Mubai had originally thought that Shrek's team had an absolute chance of becoming the champions. However, after hearing about Wang Kai's abilities, Dai Mubai felt a sense of helplessness in his heart. Don't worry, Mubai. I know your situation. I think that with our hard work, we will definitely win the championship. While comforting Dai Mubai, Tang San also cast a serious gaze at Wang Kai. His intuition told him that Wang Kai on the stage would be his future enemy. In the future, there would definitely be a fierce collision. Furthermore, whoever won the championship in this Soul Master Tournament would have the upper hand in future battles. Chapter 2:26. Third brother is right. As long as we work hard together, we won't even be afraid of the Soul Emperor. At this moment, Ma Hongjun also took a step forward and said confidently, "That's right. As long as we work together, we'll definitely be able to become champions. We'll complete the mission that the Dean gave us. Become champions." Hearing the conversation between Dai Mubai and the other two, Oscar nodded in agreement. "All right, let's work hard for the championship then. I have a feeling that we'll all benefit greatly if we become champions. You guys know that my intuition has always been accurate. Yes, we believe in you, third brother. Ning Rongrong smiled sweetly after hearing Tang San's words. Her face was filled with admiration. Tang San was filled with confidence after hearing his teammates' words. He raised his right hand behind his back. Let's do our best then. Yes, let's do our best. Everyone from Shrek's team had confident and cheerful expressions on their faces as they clasped their hands together. However, there was one person in the VIP seats who didn't look so cheerful. Instead, he looked miserable. This person's appearance was very special. Even the word special wasn't enough to describe it. This was because his body was too big. Although he was just sitting there, his body was still much taller than ordinary people. Roughly speaking, his height was at least 3 meters. Not only that, but his frame was also very large. He alone took up the width of 3 seats in the VIP seats. He was like a mountain of meat sitting there. He was tall and mighty. His skin was dark and muscular. His eyes were like copper bells. There was a layer of oil on his dark skin. Although his hair and beard were slightly gray, his aura didn't diminish. Evidently, this muscular elder was the sect leader of the Elephant Armor sect. He was a rank 87 soul, Doa Huyenjun. Although he didn't have a title, he had a nickname, Heavenly Elephant. He had personally rushed to Martial Soul Holy City to watch today's competition. Sitting beside him was the Holy Dragon Deloa from the Martial Soul Hall. Unlike the Heaven Do Empire's 3 upper sects, the 3 lower sects were closer to the Martial Soul Hall. At this moment, Huyenjun was chatting with the Holy Dragon Deloa. Even though Huyenjun wasn't a titled Doa, he was still a powerful soul Doa and the master of one of the 4 major sects. So his status was essentially equal to that of the Holy Dragon Doa. Your Majesty, Sacred Dragon, your Martial Soul Hall has truly hidden themselves well. His Highness Wang Kai is a Soul Emperor. It looks like your Martial Soul Hall is determined to become a champion. A hint of envy appeared in Huyenjun's eyes as he turned to the Holy Dragon Doa, but there was also a hint of indignation in his eyes. Of course, His Highness Wang Kai is the disciple of the Great Consecrator. His talent is naturally the best in the entire Martial Spirit Palace. In addition, he has worked very hard to achieve such an achievement. As for the championship, our Martial Soul Hall will naturally take it. Furthermore, I can secretly tell you that the rewards for this year's Soul Master Tournament will be more generous than before. So he's the disciple of that lord. I see. Huyenjun was enlightened upon hearing the Holy Dragon Doa's words, and a hint of curiosity appeared in his eyes as he asked, Your Majesty, if I may be so bold as to ask, can you tell me what the final reward for the champion is? No, I can't reveal the secrets of heaven. However, you don't have to be anxious. You'll know when the opening ceremony of the finals begins in 10 days. The Holy Dragon Dolua smiled. Then he asked, By the way, Sir Tian Xiang, the captain of your team, Huyenli, seems to be quite strong. He's able to become a Soul King at such a young age. I'm afraid he'll be the successor of the Elephant Armor sect, right? For the disciples of the Elephant Armor sect, the bigger their bodies, the greater their strength and potential. Huyenli was much taller than his teammates, and he was also much more muscular. It wasn't hard to imagine how strong he was. Of course, Huyenjun revealed a proud expression when Huyenli was mentioned. Then he said in a deep voice, Ali is the most outstanding disciple of the younger generation of the Elephant Armor sect. He's also my eldest grandson. His innate talent is better than mine when I was young. I hope that he'll become the first titled Doa of the Elephant Armor sect in the future. The Holy Dragon Delua smiled when he heard Huyenjun's words. Then, he said with a smile, It's really worth celebrating that sect leader Huyen has such a descendant. I also hope that the Elephant Armor sect will be able to produce a titled Delua soon. I hope that he can lead the Elephant Armor sect to become even stronger. Thank you for your auspicious words, Holy Dragon Dolua. After hearing the Holy Dragon Dolua's words, Huyenjun couldn't help but grin. Then, he said with a hint of helplessness in his voice, Originally, when Huyenli became a Soul King, my expectations for this year's tournament were actually for the top 3. I even wanted to fight for the championship. However, The strength of the teams participating in this year's tournament seems to be a lot stronger than before. I feel like it'll be good enough if Lier and the others can make it to the finals. You're right. The participants in this year's tournament are really amazing. According to incomplete statistics, at least half of the teams that made it to the finals have Soul Kings. How spectacular is that? You have to know that in the previous tournaments, there were less than 5 teams with Soul Kings. However, this is also a good thing. With this batch of children, the Dolua continent will become more and more prosperous. Just as the Holy Dragon Dolua and Huyin Jun were talking, the 14 contestants from both teams bowed to each other. The atmosphere in the arena became heavy in an instant. The audience's attention was focused on the contestants on the stage. Among them, Wang Kai attracted the most attention. The first match of the first day of the promotion round officially begins. Following the announcer's announcement, the match officially began. The 7 disciples from the Elephant Armor sect who were standing opposite the Martial Spirit Hall's team took off their shirts at the same time. Following that, they roared as they were possessed by their martial souls. Their bodies, which were already incomparably muscular, expanded once again. As their bodies swelled, the loose fat on the surface of the 7 Elephant Armor sect disciples rapidly transformed into exaggerated and terrifying muscles. A layer of dark yellow stratum corneum appeared on the surface of their skin, shining with a metallic luster. Other than that, their noses also extended and lengthened at the same time. At the same time, their upper lips turned up and 2 fangs grew a foot long. Their appearances became ferocious and terrifying. Chapter 227. After using martial soul possession, the 7 members of the Weathered Armor team lifted their sturdy right feet at the same time and stomped on the stage. As the Martial Soul Holy City's Great Soul Dueling Arena, powerful soul masters often came here to fight. As a result, the dueling arena was made of an extremely sturdy alloy and reinforced with soul tool technology. This arena could even withstand a soul sage's attack. Even so, the entire arena trembled as a deafening boom rang out. After using martial soul possession, the 7 members of the Weathered Armor team released their soul rings one after another. Huyin Li, who was the leader, had 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 1 black soul rings, which were the standard for a perfect Soul King. The other 6 had 2 yellow and 2 purple soul rings. As for their strength, Huyin Li, who was the rank 52 captain of the Weathered Armor team, the other 6 soul masters had 2 rank 48 soul ancestors, 2 rank 47 soul ancestors, 1 rank 46 soul ancestor, and 1 rank 45 soul ancestor. If it was in the previous tournaments, they would have been able to compete for the championship. At the very least, they would have been in the top 3. However, in this tournament, where there were so many strong soul masters, their strength could only be considered above average. Even entering the finals required a lot of luck. At this moment, the members of the Martial Soul Palace team also revealed their martial souls or performed martial soul possession. Immediately, soul rings appeared one after another. Different martial souls also produced different miraculous effects. The dazzling brilliance fully stirred up the emotions of the audience. A black scythe-shaped weapon appeared in the hands of Evil Moon, who was the leader. This weapon was also emitting a faint moonlight, which looked extremely beautiful. 5 soul rings appear behind Evil Moon: yellow, purple, and black. His aura was also increasing crazily. During the battle, Wang Kai also learned about Evil Moon's 5 soul skills. They were New Moon Strike, Moonblade Slash, Moon Shelter, Moon's Descent, and Moon Sprint. Hulaina, who was next to Evil Moon, had completed the martial soul possession. At this time, a furry foxtail grew out from her back, and her ears turned into nimble fox ears. She looked extremely cute. After the martial soul possession, Hulaina's temperament became more attractive and mysterious, and the soul power in her body became more vigorous. As for Hulaina's soul skills, her 5 soul skills were Foxtail Wrap, Foxfire Strike, Charm, Bewitching Fog, and Spiritual Shock. Back to Yin, who possessed the Flame Lord martial soul. He had also completed the martial soul possession. At this moment, Yan's body had expanded by a large amount, and many tough and sturdy muscles had grown on the surface of his body. Not only that, Yan's body had a faint red color, and it was continuously emitting steam. As the other Soul King from the Martial Soul Hall, Yan's soul skills were Blazing Impact, Blazing Barrier, Blazing Body, Blazing Charge, and Blazing Heavenly Star. All of them were related to fire and were extremely powerful. Standing behind Hu Laina, Evil Moon, and Yin were Yu Hao, Su Lan, and Li Yueming. They were respectively a rank 51 Soul King, a rank 49 Soul Ancestor, and a rank 47 Soul Ancestor. Yu Hao's martial spirit was a Gale Leopard, which was a powerful agility-type martial spirit. After using the martial spirit possession, faint leopard spots appeared on Yu Hao's body. His claws became sharp and slender, and his eyes became incomparably sharp. They emitted a faint green light, which was quite frightening. As a genius of the Martial Soul Hall, Yu Hao naturally didn't have to worry about the configuration of his soul rings. Therefore, his soul rings were a perfect combination of 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 1 black. His soul skills were Violent Leopard Rend, Violent Explosion Defense, Violent Leopard Slash, Wild Rush, and Violent Leopard Assault. Beside Yu Hao was Su Lan. Su Lan's martial soul was the golden-eyed pentamerous elephant. This martial soul was very similar to the diamond mammoth of the elephant armor sect. After martial soul possession, his body swelled and a thick layer of cuticles appeared around his body. However, this layer of cuticles was multicolored. At the same time, Su Lan's eyes turned a faint gold after martial soul possession. As the only defense-type soul master, Su Lan's only task was to protect the auxiliary-type soul master, Li Yueming. Although Su Lan hadn't become a soul king, his martial soul was still very powerful and rare. His defensive abilities were also very outstanding. He could resist the attacks of ordinary mid-level soul kings. With the support of his martial soul, he could even resist a few attacks from high-level soul kings. Su Lan's soul skills were all defensive soul skills. They were Hard Skin, Thick Earth Shield, Wave of Resistance, and Steady Forest. The last person to fight was the auxiliary-type soul master, Li Yueming. At this moment, a 6-colored halo floated above her head. It was very beautiful. Her soul skills were Strength Halo, Defense Halo, Agility Halo, and Soul Power Halo. Of course, the effects of her soul skills were far inferior to the 7 Treasures Glazed Pagoda. In front of his 6 teammates, Wang Kai didn't use martial soul possession. He only used his soul power slightly. Suddenly, his 3rd soul ring flashed, and the blood-red Shura's dragon-slaying spear appeared in his right hand. The audience was shocked when they saw Wang Kai's soul skill. How was this possible? A 10,000-year 3rd soul ring. Heavens, am I seeing things? His 3rd soul ring is already 10,000-year? Miracle! This is really a miracle. Generally speaking, a soul master's 3rd soul ring had a maximum age of 2,000 years. However, Wang Kai's soul ring had increased this limit by at least 8,000 years. How difficult and terrifying was this? It wasn't just the ordinary soul masters who were shocked. Even those who hadn't seen Wang Kai's strength before had looks of disbelief in their eyes. The person who was the most shocked was none other than Tang San. Originally, he thought that he was already a rare genius in the Dolua continent because he could pair a 10,000-year soul ring with his 4th soul ring. However, he didn't expect Wang Kai to be so much stronger than him. However, Tang San thought about it again. Wang Kai would at most pair a 10,000-year soul ring with his 3rd soul ring. However, Tang San was a genius with his 2nd martial soul. When the time came, as long as he was willing to add soul rings to his Clear Sky Hammer, he would definitely be able to easily get a 10,000-year soul ring from his 1st soul ring. As he thought about it, Tang San felt relieved. At this moment, the battle on the arena had officially begun. Wang Kai had already charged forward with his spear, while Evil Moon, Yin, and Yu Hao followed closely behind. As a control-type soul master, Hu Laina, and an auxiliary-type soul master, Li Yueming, were in the 3rd echelon. Chapter 228. just as Wang Kai and the other members of the Martial Soul Hall charged forward. Li Wiming also activated her soul skill. Ring of Strength, Ring of Soul Power. Following Li Wiming's shout, the six-colored ring above her head radiated a faint red light and a faint purple light. Immediately, Wang Kai felt his strength and soul power increase by almost 20%. A 20% increase in his attributes was already very good. After all, not every martial soul was as powerful as the seven treasures Glazed Pagoda. Boundless Blood Spear. When he was in front of Huyan Li, Wang Kai immediately channeled all his strength and soul power. He became one with his spear and swung his arm to stab at Huyan Li. At this moment, Huyan Li and the other soul masters from the Weathered Armor team also activated their first and third soul skills. Immediately, a layer of crystalline color appeared on the originally dark yellow skin of the seven mountains of flesh. Everyone's bodies seemed to be covered with a layer of enamel. At the same time, sharp spikes appeared on the surface of their bodies, making them look very ferocious. Gemstone Shield. Seeing Wang Kai charging towards him with his spear, Huyan Li's expression turned serious. He channeled all his soul power, and his fourth soul ring lit up. An extremely thick and heavy gemstone shield appeared in front of him. At the same time, Evil Moon, Yin, Hulaina, and Yu Hao each took on one or two soul masters from the Weathered Armor team and started to attack them. By the time Huyan Li condensed the gem shield, Wang Kai's spear had already arrived. Although he didn't use any other soul skills, Wang Kai's Boundless Blood Spear was a very powerful soul skill that he created himself. It could combine soul power and blood power, and its strength wasn't inferior to any of his other soul skills. It just needed some time to accumulate power. But even without accumulating power, Wang Kai's spear was still comparable to a mid-stage soul emperor. Following an ear-piercing friction, Huyan Li's shield shattered. However, Shura's dragon-slaying spear was also stopped. Huyan Li took advantage of the opportunity to grab hold of it with his thick hands. You want to compete with me in strength? What a joke. Huyan Li saw Wang Kai's small body and thought that Wang Kai wasn't strong enough. He wanted to use his own strength to snatch Shura's dragon-slaying spear. But he didn't know that Wang Kai's seemingly weak body hid a terrifying amount of strength. If he used his martial soul possession, his physical strength would be comparable to a soul sage without his martial soul true body. Wang Kai's strength wasn't something that Wang was comparable to Huyan Li's soul. Huyan Li's strength was Huyan Li was a soul master. Huyan Li's Huyan spear, and Huyan Li's, and Huyan's arms. At the same time, Wang Kai thrust his spear at Huyan Li again. Huyan Li had no choice but to use his gemstone shield to block Huyan Li's attacks. Huyan Li was able to block Huyan Li's first few attacks with his own defenses. But as Wang Kai continued to thrust his spear, Huyan Li felt the recoil from Huyan Li's attacks grow stronger and stronger. His entire body was numb from the recoil, and his soul force was quickly drained from his gemstone shield. Wang Kai's teammates were also able to achieve great results. Even though they were fighting one against two, Evil Moon and Yin Li were able to defeat the two Elephantine sect disciples that were attacking them. The Elephantine sect disciple that Hulaina was facing was even more bewitched by Hulaina, and he joined forces with Yu Hao to attack his opponent. Go down! Huyan Li thrust his spear forward again. This time, Huyan Li could hear his bones cracking. Huyan Li's defense was strong enough to withstand the attacks of an early-stage Soul Emperor, but it didn't last long against Wang Kai's attacks. Should I use my Soul Bone? Forget it. Even if I use my Soul Bone, we don't stand a chance against the Martial Spirit Hall's team. They're all monsters, especially Wang Kai. After thinking about it carefully, Huyan Li gave up on the idea of using his Soul Bone. At the same time, Wang Kai thrust his spear at Huyan Li again. With both his arms broken, Huyan Li was unable to block Wang Kai's spear this time. Wang Kai didn't want to leave a bad name in the Soul Master Tournament. Furthermore, the Elephantine sect and the Martial Spirit Hall were on good terms. Therefore, Wang Kai didn't use Shura's murderous aura when he stabbed Huyan Li. He avoided the fatal spot and stabbed a bull-sized wound on Huyan Li's belly before pulling out his spear. Faced with Wang Kai's attack, Huyan Li knew that Wang Kai was going easy on him. Therefore, he followed the rules of the tournament and left the soul dueling stage to receive treatment. At the same time, Yu Hao and Hulaina controlled an Elephantine sect disciple to gang up on him. Yu Hao easily defeated his opponent. With the addition of Wang Kai, Hulaina, and Yu Hao, Evil Moon, and Yin Li had completely suppressed their opponents. Now, they had no chance of winning. They didn't want to embarrass themselves and continue fighting. Instead, they obediently admitted defeat and left the stage. The first match of the first day has ended. The Martial Spirit Hall's team has won 1 point. The Elephantine Academy's team has lost 0 points. At this moment, the host went up on stage again and announced the results of the match. Immediately, the audience erupted into applause and cheers. In less than 2 minutes, the Martial Spirit Hall's team had easily defeated the Elephantine Academy. Furthermore, the Martial Spirit Hall's team had 4 Soul Kings and a Soul Emperor. What a luxurious lineup. After bowing to each other, the 2 teams left the stage one after another. The second group of teams began the second match. Your Majesty Shenglong, your Martial Spirit Hall's strength is indeed well-deserved. It's no wonder you're a super team that has won many championships. Hu Yinjun wasn't too surprised to see the Elephantine Academy's team lose. However, when he saw that Wang Kai was a Soul Emperor, he already knew that the Elephantine Academy's team would lose. However, he didn't expect the Elephantine Academy's team to lose so quickly. Although Huyan Li still had a soul bone that he hadn't used, Hu Yinjun was very clear that even if he used it, Huyan Li wouldn't be a match for Wang Kai. This was because Wang Kai had only used his 3rd soul skill. As the holy son of the Martial Spirit Hall, how could Wang Kai not have a soul bone? Your Majesty Tian Xiang, your Elephantine Academy strength is actually not bad. Although you've lost this match, it doesn't mean that you can't win all the subsequent matches. You might even be able to fight for a spot in the winner's bracket. At the very least, with your team's strength, won't it be easy for you to obtain a spot in the loser's bracket? The Holy Dragon Doloa comforted Hu Yinjun as he looked at him. You're right. I hope Ali won't be affected by this. I'll go and comfort him too. After he finished speaking, Hu Yinjun stood up from his seat and walked toward the preparation area where the contestants were. Chapter 229. On the other side of Shrek Academy's team, Tang San and the other members of Shrek 7 Monsters were also filled with astonishment. Oh my god, they were crushed. They were actually crushed. This is unbelievable. The Ouija Academy's team had a Soul King and 6 Soul Ancestors, but they were actually defeated by the Martial Soul Hall within 2 minutes. The Martial Soul Hall's team is really frightening. Furthermore, did you guys notice that Wang Kai only used 1 soul skill from the beginning to the end, and it was only his 3rd soul skill, but he was able to defeat Huyan Li? I wonder how strong he is? After witnessing the strength of the Martial Soul Hall's team, Shrek's 7 monsters revealed serious looks in their eyes, and they started to discuss. Although they were very confident in their own strength, the Martial Soul Hall's team's strength had far exceeded their expectations, and they felt extremely pressured. After the Martial Soul Hall's team defeated the Ouija Academy, Wang Kai and the rest returned to the preparation area. The second match was between the Stardow Imperial Academy's team and the Miller Academy's team. Facing these 2 teams that weren't very strong, Wang Kai and the other members of the Martial Soul Hall's team didn't have much interest in watching, so they started to discuss their tactics and shortcomings. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed, and all 16 matches had ended. Among the 32 teams, the one that attracted Wang Kai's attention the most was naturally Shrek's team. However, their opponent in this round was the Corso Academy's team from the second group, which was an advanced Soul Master Academy from a certain kingdom in the Heaven Do Empire. The strongest person in this academy was only a rank 44 Soul Ancestor. In the previous year's Soul Master Tournament, he was still quite impressive, but in this year's Soul Master Tournament, his strength was extremely ordinary. Even the weakest auxiliary-type Soul Master in the Martial Soul Hall's team, Li Yuemeng, was 3 levels higher than him. Furthermore, there were only 3 soul ancestors in this team. The other 4 members were merely soul elders. Against Shrek's team, which consisted entirely of soul ancestors, they naturally didn't have the ability to retaliate. In a mere minute, they were all defeated. Shrek's team chose to hide their strength in this battle, and even sent out their 3 substitutes. In the blink of an eye, it was the second day. Today, Wang Kai's Martial Spirit Palace battle team, one's opponent, was the School of Botany. This was an academy from the Heaven Do Empire. All of the students had plant-type martial souls, while majority of their soul masters were control-type and defense-type soul masters. Their strength was only slightly stronger than the Corso Academy that Shrek Academy had defeated the day before. Their captain was at rank 46, and there were 5 soul ancestors in the team. Against such a battle team, Wang Kai didn't even need to take action. Just Yin alone was enough to defeat them. Hence, Li Ning didn't arrange for Wang Kai, Hulaina, or Evil Moon to fight. Instead, he gave the substitutes a chance to fight. Naturally, they won easily. Another day passed. This time, Wang Kai's opponent was the Tsanghui Academy. Li Ning and the other instructors didn't take this academy too seriously. However, Wang Kai knew that although the strongest person in the Tsanghui Academy was only a rank 49 soul ancestor, and the strength of the other team members was basically only at the initial or intermediate stage of the soul ancestor stage, they had a heaven-defying skill, the 7-person fusion skill. Furthermore, their fusion skill didn't target the soul master's body, but the soul master's spirit. Hence, although Li Ning didn't understand, under Wang Kai's insistence, he chose to fight in this battle. Next, the first match of the third day. Martial Spirit Palace Battle Team 1 versus Tsanghui Academy Battle Team 1. Following the host's words, Wang Kai's Martial Spirit Palace Battle Team and Tsanghui Academy Battle Team went on stage one after another. Seeing Wang Kai's appearance, the audience's emotions were all puzzled. In their opinion, the Tsanghui Academy Battle Team was weak, similar to the Botany Academy Battle Team that the Martial Spirit Palace Battle Team had defeated yesterday. Wang Kai, a Soul Emperor, didn't need to fight at all. However, since Wang Kai had appeared, the Tsanghui Academy Battle Team could only be defeated in an instant. Hence, the audience in the arena all looked at the Tsanghui Academy Battle Team with pity. Everyone silence. Both teams salute. The battle begins. Following the host's words, the battle officially began. The Martial Spirit Palace Battle Team's Soul Masters activated their martial souls, or summoned their martial souls. On the opposite side, the 7 members of the Tsanghui Academy Battle Team had already gathered together when the referee announced the release of their martial souls, forming a strange formation. Following the referee's voice, the Tsanghui Academy Battle Team's captain suddenly stretched his back, his feet moved slightly, and his body immediately retreated 1 meter, entering the hexagonal formation formed by the other 6 people. As he retreated, the other 6 people took a step forward at the same time. The originally dense hexagonal formation suddenly expanded. The strange thing was that although their formation expanded, the hexagonal formation didn't scatter at all. The distance the 6 people took was exactly the same, and the position that the Tsanghui Academy Battle Team's captain retreated just happened to be the center of this formation. Obviously, this was a formation that had been practiced for many years. Following that, under the gaze of all the audience in the arena, the 7 members of the Tsanghui Academy Battle Team raised their right hands at the same time. At this time, the martial souls of the 7 members of the Tsanghui Academy Battle Team finally appeared in front of everyone. What appeared in the right palm of the 7 members of the Tsanghui Academy Battle Team was a gem. Seeing the martial souls of the Tsanghui Academy Battle Team's members, the soul masters on the field also showed surprised expressions. The color and appearance of the gems in their palms were different. There were circular, diamond-shaped, triangular, and droplet-shaped ones. The colors were also the 7 colors of the rainbow, but the moment these 7 gems appeared at the same time, a layer of dense, colorful light suddenly emerged from their bodies, completely enveloping the 7 people's bodies. A gem martial soul was definitely an extremely rare martial soul. It wasn't that they were very powerful, but just like Tang San's blue silvergrass, this kind of martial soul had great extensibility. They could develop in any direction according to the different soul rings they obtained. It could be a strength type, control type, agility type, or even support type. Everything was based on soul rings. It could be said that it was the martial soul that relied the most on soul rings. In the world of soul masters, the stronger the martial soul, the better. But generally speaking, most martial souls were already set when they were awakened and had the most suitable direction for their development. And this gem-type martial soul was the opposite. It was the most uncertain of all martial souls. Of course, this kind of martial soul was also extremely rare. How could it not be surprising that 7 soul masters with gem-type martial souls suddenly appeared in the arena? What's more, these 7 people were from the same team. Chapter 230. If it was said that the appearance of 7 soul masters with gemstone-type martial souls made the audience feel astonished, then the following scene could be said to be completely shocking to the audience, and could even be described as shocking. Under the gaze of the audience, the captain of the Tsanghue Academy team revealed a faint smile, then slowly raised his right hand and raised the gem in his palm. His martial soul was a round silver gem, exuding a beautiful luster, and this gem had become the core of the Tsanghue Academy team. At the same time, the 4th soul ring on his body lit up, and the other 6 members of the Tsanghue Academy team maintained the same action as him, lifting up the gems in their hands, and their 4th soul rings lit up at the same time. His Highness Wang Kai and everyone from the Martial Soul Hall team, your strength is very strong, but today we will completely defeat you and make you our Tsanghue Academy's stepping stone. The dense light flickered, and the captain of the Tsanghue Academy team looked coldly at Wang Kai, his mouth revealing a strange smile. 7 Shura's illusion. Following the low roar of the 7 members of the Tsanghue Academy team, 7 colorful lights soared into the sky almost at the same time, with the Tsanghue Academy team's captain's martial soul as the center, instantly condensing into a huge 7-colored light beam. That light beam shot straight into the sky, breaking through the air for nearly 50 meters, and then quickly spread out, completely enveloping the 7 members of the Tsanghue Academy. Suddenly, only the dazzling and huge light was left on the field, and the 7 members of the Tsanghue Academy team disappeared at the same time. What's going on? In the VIP seats, the Snowy Night Emperor was shocked and muttered, Could this be the legendary 7-in-1 martial soul fusion skill? Seeing the change in the Tsanghue Academy team, Ning Fengji, who was sitting next to the Snowy Night Emperor, also had a serious expression, but after thinking carefully, he shook his head. No, it shouldn't be. In my memory, there is no soul master in the Dalua continent who can complete a 7-in-1 martial soul fusion skill. And this is not a 7-in-1 martial soul fusion skill. It should be the so-called 7-in-1 martial soul fusion skill. Although there is only a difference of 2 words, the power of the 7-in-1 martial soul fusion skill is far inferior to the 7-in-1 martial soul fusion skill. Even so, it's still a very high-level martial soul technique. Once it's used, its power will definitely be much stronger than their own strength combined. If I'm not mistaken, these 7 children may only be soul ancestors, but their combined skills are definitely at the level of a high-stage soul emperor. In fact, they might even be able to match a soul sage without using their martial soul true body. Ning Fengji was a little worried as he looked at Wang Kai. He then said in a self-deprecating manner, Your Majesty, this Continental Advanced Soul Master Tournament has really opened my eyes. The young soul masters of this generation are indeed much stronger than we were back then. Not only are there so many soul kings, there's even such a rare fusion skill. As the continent's #1 support-type soul master, Ning Fengji was very clear about the research and understanding of martial souls, which was why he could see the details of the Tsanghue Academy team's fusion skill. However, many of the other soul masters watching the competition were not as insightful and experienced as Ning Fengji. When they saw the Sanghui Academy team's skill, they were so shocked that they could not close their mouths. 7-person martial soul fusion skill. Seeing the huge and gorgeous 7-colored light pillar. This was the first word that flashed in the minds of almost all the soul masters present. However, unlike the Snowy Night Emperor, the other soul masters who thought of this word did not have Ning Fengji, the head of the 7 Treasures Glazed sect, to explain it to them. Heavens, is this really just a competition between advanced soul master academies? Even the continental ranking tournament of a martial spirit hall was not as good as this, right? Seeing this scene, almost 99% of the soul masters had the same thought in their minds. Captain, is this a 7-person martial soul fusion skill? What should we do? Seeing the Sanghui Academy team's actions, everyone from the martial spirit hall showed a look of surprise and even fear. At the same time, they looked at Wang Kai with anticipation. What was a 7-person martial soul fusion skill? It was a powerful soul skill that only existed in legends, and was also known as a divine skill. Once it was used, it could give a soul master 1,000 times more than the 7 Treasures Glazed Pagoda's amplification effect when the 7 Treasures Glazed Pagoda was used. It gave a soul master the ability to fight above his rank. If the Sanghui Academy team really used a 7-person martial soul fusion skill, although the 7 of them were only soul ancestors, their overall strength was at least comparable to a soul Daw. If the degree of fusion was high, they might even be able to defeat a titled Daw. Facing such a terrifying opponent, how could the members of the Martial Spirit Palace battle team not feel scared and helpless? Everyone, don't panic. How can a 7-person martial soul fusion skill be so easy to use? Carefully feel the power of their soul skill. At most, they have reached the level of a soul sage without using their martial soul true body. This is not a 7-person martial soul fusion skill at all. They just used a special technique to unify the power of their soul skill. There's nothing to be afraid of. If Wang Kai was just an ordinary member of the Martial Spirit Hall team, then under fear and pressure, he might not be able to discover the truth of the Sanghui Academy's fusion skill. But Wang Kai was different. He was a transmigrator who jumped out of the 3 realms and was not in the 5 elements. He also knew a certain historical line of the Dolua continent like the back of his hand. Therefore, the truth of the Sanghui Academy's skill could not escape his eyes. After listening to Wang Kai's words, everyone from the Martial Spirit Hall team also calmed down. Then, they felt the power of the 7-person Sanghui Academy's fusion skill. The surprise and fear on their faces quickly disappeared. Facing a 7-person martial soul fusion skill, they had no chance at all. However, their opponent's skill was at most a 7-person martial soul fusion skill. This was not difficult for them at all. At this moment, the 7-colored light pillar condensed from the Sanghui Academy team also spread at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, it had filled the entire arena. All kinds of treasure lights burst out from it. The soaring, colorful light almost illuminated the entire arena. The blurry brilliance was filled with a strange atmosphere, and the 7 people from the Martial Spirit Hall team had been completely engulfed. Seeing this scene, the entire audience was silent. The commentator in the VIP seats could not say a word. Before the start of the competition, who would have thought that such a situation would happen? Could it be that the Martial Spirit Hall team, which had a powerful Soul Emperor like Wang Kai and many Soul Kings, was going to lose to the unknown Sanghui Academy team? Chapter 231. Unlike the majority of the audience outside the arena, there were a small number of observant and knowledgeable soul masters who discovered the essence of the Sanghui Academy's 7-man soul fusion skill. However, even so, they were still very surprised by the Sanghui Academy's 7-man soul fusion skill. After all, although the difficulty was lower than the 7-man soul fusion skill, it was not easy to coordinate the soul skills of 7 soul masters together. Of course, looking at this scene, Shrek's team only revealed a mocking expression. 7-man soul fusion skill? Sorry, we have it too. Furthermore, Our seven-man soul fusion skill is even stronger and more invincible. We are the undisputed kings of this year's Soul Master Tournament. At this moment, in the dazzling and magnificent Seven Shura illusion in the center of the arena, all kinds of illusions appeared in the hearts of the Martial Spirit Hall team members. In their eyes, all kinds of scenes that they feared or cherished the most appeared. In front of Hulaina, she saw her teacher, BB Dawn, flying into a rage at her and wanting to expel her from the sect. In front of Evil Moon, he saw his sister, Hulaina, being tortured by the enemy and on the verge of death. In front of Yen, the face of his deceased mother actually appeared again. In just a few seconds, the members of the Martial Spirit Hall team had already fallen into the Seven Shura illusion cast by the Tsanghui Academy team. Confusion appeared in their eyes. Even Hulaina, who had the strongest spiritual power among the team members, fell into a nightmare. However, in the Martial Spirit Hall team, there was one person who did not fall into the illusion. That exception was the captain of the Martial Spirit Hall team, Wang Kai, who was standing at the front of the Martial Spirit Hall team. Although his soul power cultivation was only at the Soul Emperor level, Wang Kai's spiritual power was already half liquefied. His actual spiritual cultivation was comparable to a Soul Dalaw. Although this illusion was strong, it could only confuse a Soul Sage at most. It could not pose any threat to Wang Kai at all. Other than that, Wang Kai's martial soul, Emperor Shura, also gave Wang Kai a great resistance against spiritual type skills. Even a titled Dual or 100,000-year soul beast proficient in illusions would not be able to make Wang Kai fall into an illusion, let alone the small Tsanghui Academy team. You want to defeat our Martial Spirit Palace with such a trashy illusion? You must be dreaming. Wang Kai snorted coldly and charged forward with Shura's dragon-slaying spear in his hand. Ow, how is this possible? Even if a soul sage falls into our illusions, there's a high chance that he'll fall into our illusions. How did you escape? Seeing Wang Kai charging towards him, the captain of the Tsanghui Academy's team opened his mouth wide, his face revealing a shocked expression, his eyes flashing with disbelief. That's because your illusions are too weak, while my mental strength is very strong. After answering indifferently, Wang Kai's figure had already charged into the formation formed by the Tsanghui Academy team. Facing a few soul ancestors, Wang Kai did not even need to use his everlasting blood spear technique. With a sweep of his spear, the 7 members of the Tsanghui Academy team were all swept to the ground by Wang Kai. Although Wang Kai deliberately suppressed his strength, the 7 members of the Tsanghui Academy still felt a sharp pain in their internal organs, and their 7-person fusion skill could not continue. The faint 7-colored fog in the sky quickly dissipated, and the remaining 6 members of the Martial Spirit Palace team finally escaped from the terrifying illusion. The first match of the 3rd day has ended. Martial Spirit Palace team wins, 1 point. Tsanghui Academy loses, 0 points. Seeing the result of the match, the referee's eyes also revealed a surprised expression. He also mistook the Tsanghui Academy's skill for the 7-person martial soul fusion skill. However, out of professionalism, he did not show his surprise on his face, but loudly announced the result of the match through the sound-transmitting soul tool. At this time, many of the audience in the arena also turned their attention to Wang Kai. After the 7-colored fog dissipated, the positions of the other 6 members of the Martial Spirit Palace team did not change. Only Wang Kai alone charged into the Tsanghui Academy team. In other words, the feat of breaking the Tsanghui Academy's fusion skill was almost completed by Wang Kai alone. The audience naturally became curious about Wang Kai, the mysterious holy son of the Martial Spirit Palace. Facing the astonished gazes of the audience, Wang Kai also smiled faintly, then calmly opened his mouth and said a sentence. You don't have to look at me like that. That was not a 7-person martial soul fusion skill. After that, he also returned to the preparation area with the remaining 6 members of the Martial Spirit Palace team. However, at this time, there was still a trace of sluggishness in their eyes. Obviously, they had not recovered from the illusion. Very good, Wang Kai. Fortunately, you came out this time. Otherwise, we might have really capsized in the gutter. Looking at Wang Kai, who led the team back, Li Ning and the other two mentors also had a look of relief in their eyes. However, they also had some doubts. Did Wang Kai know some information in advance, so he insisted on coming out? However, Wang Kai's identity was the holy son of the martial spirit palace, so the three mentors did not dare to ask too much. However, they still had lingering fears about this victory. If Wang Kai did not personally come out, the martial spirit palace team might have really lost this match. After all, except for Wang Kai, even Hulaina, who had the second strongest spiritual power, had fallen into the illusion and had almost no resistance. Even if they lost a battle, it would not affect the martial spirit palace team's result of advancing as the winner. However, if the martial spirit palace team was defeated by the small Tsanghui Academy team, it would be a great loss of face for the martial spirit palace, and the mentors who caused all of this would probably face extremely severe punishment. This Tsanghui Academy team's martial soul fusion skill is indeed quite powerful and could even affect one's soul and spiritual power. However, to me, it's actually just SOSO. However, Laina and the rest minds have been affected to a certain extent. Maybe we need to find some healing-type soul masters to help alleviate it. After exchanging a few words with Li Ning, Wang Kai also turned back to return to the team. Then, he sat beside Hulaina to help her ease her mood. At this time, it was the best time to gain the favor of the young girl. Sure enough, under Wang Kai's comfort, Hulaina's mood gradually calmed down. Then, she lay in Wang Kai's arms and rested. On the other side, everyone from the Tsanghui Academy also returned to the preparation area unwillingly. They were also extremely surprised by the fact that Wang Kai had broken their illusion. Originally, they were prepared to use the Martial Spirit Palace team as a stepping stone and then become famous in one battle. Unexpectedly, their wishful thinking was easily broken, which made them extremely depressed. Chapter 232. After defeating the Tsanghui Academy, Wang Kai took care of Hulaina, who was sleeping soundly in his arms, while watching the rest of the battles on the soul dueling stage. Compared to the original timeline, the strength of all the participating teams had increased. However, these teams were basically unable to threaten Wang Kai's Martial Soul Hall team. In Wang Kai's mind, his only enemy was Tang San's Shrek Academy team, who possessed the Child of Destiny. And today, Shrek's opponent was the Star Luo Empire's Star Luo Imperial Family team. This was also a battle that Wang Kai was rather concerned about. In the Star Luo Imperial Family team's main team, there was Dai Mubai's brother, Davis, and Zhu Zhuqing's sister, Zhu Zhiyan. The relationship between these two couples could be said to be like fire and water. At the same time, the Star Luo Imperial Family team had a total of 3 Soul Kings, just like Shrek's team. Therefore, it was the first time that Shrek's 7 monsters had all appeared on stage to face this strong team. As the battle began, Davis and Zhu Zhuyan, Dai Mubai, and Zhu Zhuqing practically held each other's hands at the same time. After that, 2 enormous, ferocious, and majestic netherworld white tigers appeared in the center of the stage at almost the same time. A martial soul fusion skill, and 2 martial soul fusion skills in a single match. Almost everyone in the audience was shocked at this moment. Only Wang Kai, who was a transmigrator, and a few powerful figures weren't too surprised. In the audience, the person who was most concerned about this match was none other than the Star Luo Empire's Emperor, Dai Outyin. There were descendants of his in both teams, and after witnessing Dai Mubai's strength, this abandoned descendant was once again on Dai Outyin's list of candidates to be evaluated. Under the watchful eyes of the audience, the members of the 2 teams were also engaged in an intense battle. 2 enormous netherworld white tigers pounced and tore at each other in the air, and the other team members were also engaged in battle. Soul rings flickered frequently on the arena, and gorgeous and mystical soul skills came and went. It was an extremely spectacular scene. Although the Star Luo royal family was very strong, Shrek Academy's team was stronger than them. This was especially true for Shrek's team, which had Tang San, who had lived 2 lifetimes and was an experienced commander. They also had Ning Rongrong, who possessed the Seven Treasures Glazed Pagoda. After fighting for close to 10 minutes, Shrek's team finally defeated the Star Luo royal family. At this point, Shrek's team had finally entered the eyes of the audience. Although Shrek's team was initially considered a dark horse, very few people believed that they could create a miracle and enter the finals. But now, people had truly discovered Shrek's abilities, and there were more and more bets on Shrek's team in the black market and the betting arena. Soon, the third day of the competition was over. On the fourth day of the competition, Marshal Solhal's opponent was the Star Luo Empire's Qi-Lan Academy. This was an advanced Soul Master Academy from one of the Star Luo Empire's divisions. Their captain was only a rank 48 Soul Ancestor, and they even had a Soul Elder as a member. It was very obvious that this team was just a passerby team. Facing such a team, Wang Kai naturally didn't need to participate. Because of this, after returning to the Green Xian Hall, Wang Kai had a round of intimacy with Chihiro Snow, Ning Yuxian, Dai Qingli, and Zhu Yiling, and made them obedient. After that, he let them sleep peacefully amidst the pain and joy. Of course, the next morning, Wang Kai didn't forget about Mo Shu from the small plane, and bestowed her with the same wonderful treatment. On the fourth day of the competition, Marshal Solhal's team easily defeated Qi-Lan Academy, and Shrek Academy's team also defeated their opponents effortlessly. Finally, the fifth day of the promotion competition had arrived, and at this time, the competition was already halfway through. On this day, Marshal Solhal's team welcomed their next opponent, Skywater Academy. This time, Wang Kai participated in the competition once again. On one hand, it was naturally because Wang Kai knew that Skywater Academy had martial soul fusion skills. Although Marshal Solhal also had Hulaina and Evil Moon's martial soul fusion skills, it was naturally better to reveal such a trump card as late as possible. On the other hand, Wang Kai's third soul skill had already been revealed, so it wouldn't be a big deal to use it again. On the other hand, Wang Kai naturally had his own selfish motives for participating in the competition. Both Shui Bing, and Shui Yu, were very strong-willed girls. If he could personally defeat them, it was very likely that they would worship and have a good impression of him. At that time, it would be easier for him to bring these two beautiful sisters into his big family. Next, let's begin the first match of the third day. Marshal Solhal's team against Skywater Academy's team. Following the host's enthusiastic words, Wang Kai's team, Marshal Solhal's team, and Skywater Academy's team entered the stage one after another, and then stood on both sides of the stage. Seeing that both sides had entered the stage, the referee also signaled for the members of both teams to salute each other. Wang Kai also stared at Shui Bing, and Shui Yu's beautiful faces and figures once again. Today, Shui Bing, was still wearing the beautiful Skywater Academy's team uniform, which vividly displayed her perfect figure. Her skin was like snow, white and smooth, and it was very pleasing to the eyes. Behind Shui Bing, snow-white jade back, there was a head of aqua blue hair draped over her shoulders, which made her look very beautiful. Her pair of deep and clear blue eyes were like sapphires that could move one's soul. Her beautiful face was adorned with incomparably exquisite facial features, and she exuded a light and cold beauty, causing a strong desire to conquer her to rise from the bottom of one's heart. Shui Yu, who was standing beside Shui Bing, was also very beautiful. Although she was slightly younger, Shui Yu's curvaceous figure made her appear even more enchanting than her sister. Her slim waist and swaying posture displayed the most perfect part of her figure in front of Wang Kai. Her facial features were also very unique, and her eyes were like a pool of clear water. When she looked at them, one couldn't help but feel a kind of captivating feeling, which moved one's heart. Shui Bing, and Shui Yu were already very beautiful, and when the sisters, who had almost the same temperament, stood together, the two of them reflected each other's beauty, which undoubtedly increased by a lot. They attracted the gazes of countless young male soul masters and nobles in the arena. On the other side, Shui Bing, and Shui Yu also felt Wang Kai's burning gaze and couldn't help but blush, and their hearts couldn't help but beat faster. Sister, it seems like His Highness Wang Kai is looking at us. Shui Yu whispered softly into Shui Bing's ear. It seems like it, Yu. His Highness Wang Kai might really like us. That's really great. We must also perform well and display our strength, so that we can truly attract His Highness Wang Kai's heart. Let's do our best together. Hearing Shui Yu's words, Shui Bing whispered into Shui Yu's ear. Yes, let's do our best together. Hearing Shui Bing's words, Shui Yu also revealed a brilliant smile, and then said together. Chapter 233. Captain of the Martial Soul Hall, Wang Kai, rank 63 Assault-type Soul Master. As he admired the beautiful sisters, Wang Kai revealed a faint smile of satisfaction. He then announced his name and rank. Captain of the Skywater Academy, Shui Bing rank 51 Control-type Soul Master. Hearing Wang Kai's voice, a trace of happiness appeared on Shui Bing's face. She then hurriedly replied. Her voice was filled with gentleness, just like a little girl. She didn't have the arrogance and domineering aura of a soul king. Both sides, get ready. You can now release your martial souls. Seeing that both sides had finished greeting each other, the referee immediately announced that the match had entered the preparation stage. After that, they quickly left the soul dueling stage. Just like before, the Martial Soul Hall's team members were still Wang Kai, Hulaina, Evil Moon, Yin, Yu Hao, Su Lan, and Li Yueming. Their positions were still the same as before. Wang Kai stood the front, Evil Moon, Yin, and Hulaina stood in the middle. Yu Hao wandered around the stage, and as a defense-type Soul Master, Su Lan stayed at the back to protect the support of the team, Li Yueming. Unlike the Martial Soul Hall's formation, the Skywater Academy's team had 3 Assault-type Soul Masters at the front. Shui Bing, Shui Yu, and Shui Wu were in the middle. There was also a young girl with long black hair and a somewhat pale face standing at the back. Compared to the Martial Soul Hall, the Skywater Academy's strength was more average. Other than the rank 51 Soul King, Shui Bing, the second strongest member of the Skywater Academy, was the rank 49 Soul Ancestor, Shui Wu. The rest of the team members were either rank 46 or 47. Not only were their strengths similar, but the 7 members of the Skywater Academy also had nearly the same soul rings. Other than Shui Bing's 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 1 black soul ring, the other 6 had 2 yellow and 2 purple soul rings. Furthermore, the color of their martial souls was basically the same, a gentle and beautiful aqua blue. After using martial soul possession, Shui Bing's whole body was shrouded in a layer of hazy blue light. A circle of dazzling blue light floated behind Shui Bing, looking very gorgeous, but also exuding an extremely powerful and cold aura. If one looked carefully, one could see a luxurious and beautiful ice phoenix phantom in the blue light behind her. This was her martial soul, the Ice Phoenix. It was one of the most powerful martial souls. After using the martial soul possession, her appearance had improved a bit, adding a noble and elegant beauty to her beauty. As Shui Bing's younger sister, Shui Yu's martial soul was also an Ice Phoenix. After she used her martial soul possession, Shui Yu's aura also rose by a level. At the same time, she faintly resonated with Shui Bing. Not only that, but after her transformation, Shui Yu's temperament became even colder and more noble, causing others to have a strong desire to conquer her. However, unlike Shui Bing and Shui Yu, who had become even more beautiful after their transformation, the other 3 Soul Masters from Skywater Academy didn't become even more beautiful after using martial soul possession. Instead, their appearances became a little strange and even ugly. The 3 Assault-type Soul Masters standing at the front of Skywater Academy had some fine scales on their bodies after martial soul possession. They were like fish scales. Shui Wu's martial soul, who was next to Shui Bing, had an additional layer of bright enamel on her skin. The black-haired soul master standing at the back had his skin completely turned blue. Both sides are done. The competition will now officially begin. Seeing that both sides had finished releasing their martial souls, the referee nodded his head slightly. After that, he used the loudspeaker in his hand to announce the start of the competition. "Everyone attack!" Wang Kai shouted faintly. Immediately after, he activated his soul force. His third soul ring flashed behind him, and the blood-colored Shura's dragon-slaying spear appeared in his hand. After that, he tapped his right foot and took the lead in charging. Holding the Shura's dragon-slaying spear, he went straight for the three soul masters in front of him. At this time, other than Su Lan and Li Weming, the other four soul masters from the martial soul hall followed closely behind Wang Kai and attacked together with Wang Kai. Li Weming used her six-colored ring to provide strong support to her team members, while Su Lan used her second soul skill, the Shield of Earth, to firmly protect herself and Li Weming. "Delay them." Shui Bing who was standing in the center, ordered indifferently. After that, her first and second soul rings flashed behind her. Immediately, the soul masters from the martial soul hall felt a chill all over their bodies. Their advancing bodies suddenly stopped, and their entire bodies were frozen in a layer of solid ice. Instant release, strong control. This attack from Shui Bing had already proved the power of her soul skills and the strength of her control over them. Of course, although Shui Bing's attack was strong, it was impossible to trap the stronger members of the martial soul hall. In less than a moment, Wang Kai had already broken through the layer of ice with his spear. Blazing flames ignited beside Yin, melting the layer of ice. Evil Moon, Hulaina, and Yu Hao on the side relied on their powerful soul force to break out. Only Su Lan and Li Weming were still trapped in the ice. However, Shui Bing's goal was not to trap the members of the martial soul hall, but to stall for time. At the same time when she released her soul skills, Shui Bing and Shui Yu held each other's hands. Suddenly, Shui Bing and Shui Yu's originally faintly resonating aura began to fuse crazily. Circles of blue halos spread out in all directions with Shui Bing and Shui Yu as the center. At the same time, an extremely dark cloud appeared directly above the soul dueling arena, completely enveloping the arena. Then, bean-sized raindrops began to fall from the sky, turning into a large curtain of water that tilted downwards. Martial Soul Fusion Skill. It's actually another Martial Soul Fusion skill. This year's Soul Master Tournament is really worth it. Seeing this scene, the audience's eyes suddenly revealed a light of excitement. Martial Soul Fusion skills were very rare. Being able to see it once naturally made them feel excited. These raindrops falling from the sky were not ordinary raindrops. The temperature was extremely cold. As soon as they came into contact with the members of the Martial Soul Hall, they immediately felt a bone-piercing chill. Of course, these cold raindrops did not fall on the girls of the Skywater Academy. When they came close to their bodies, they quietly slid down. At the same time as the raindrops fell, the air in the soul dueling arena began to fill with a peerlessly terrifying chill, causing frost to appear on the skin of the people. Their movements and attack speed were continuously reduced, and their soul power was also somewhat stagnant. Drifting ice and snow, accompanied by a delicate shout, Shui Bing and Shui Yu who were holding each other's hands, fused together in the next moment, turning into an extremely dazzling blue and white light that rushed into the dark clouds in the sky. Shui Bing and Shui Yu's bodies disappeared at the same time, and their martial soul fusion skill finally erupted. Chapter 234. Just as the figures of Shui Yu and Shui Bing fused and disappeared, the dark clouds in the sky quietly changed. They became denser, and the brightness of the entire soul dueling stage suddenly decreased by a notch. At the same time, the freezing rain that fell from the sky also changed shape. It turned into a snowflake that was as sharp as a blade. It fluttered down from the sky and covered the ground of the soul dueling stage with a thick layer of frost. Not only that, But the cold wind in the arena also became fiercer. The flying snow in the sky turned into a huge ice vortex that swept towards the martial Soul Hall team. Even the audience dozens of meters away from the soul dueling stage felt the bone-piercing chill and couldn't help but shiver. Shui Yu, and Shui Bing were soul kings and soul ancestors respectively. Their martial souls were the same, so the power of their martial soul fusion skill was very terrifying. It was already at the level of an ordinary soul sage without using their martial soul true body. This kind of power was enough to change the environment in a small area. Everyone, don't panic. Don't worry and just watch the match. Seeing the panic of the audience, the Holy Dragon Delois, who was sitting in the VIP seats, stood up at this time. His vigorous soul power enveloped the entire soul dueling stage and the cold air in the soul dueling stage as he commanded. Although Shui Yu and Shui Bing martial soul fusion skill was powerful, it was a piece of cake in front of the Holy Dragon Delois. Under the Holy Dragon Delois' soul power, the temperature in the soul dueling stage finally returned to normal. At this time, on the soul dueling stage, Hulaina moved closer to Wang Kai's ear and anxiously asked, "Captain, the power of this soul skill is too terrifying. What should we do? Do you need me and Evil Moon to use our martial soul fusion skill together?" "Laina, there's no need for that for now. If we want to break this soul skill, I alone will be enough. You guys stay by Yan's side. His martial soul, the Flame Overlord, is a soul skill that restrains the ice element. It will protect you very well. I alone will be enough for the rest." Hearing Hulaina's question, Wang Kai revealed a confident smile and then calmly replied, "Yes, Captain, I understand." While agreeing, Hulaina led Evil Moon, Yu Hao, Sulan, Li Weming, and the rest to Yan's side. Meanwhile, Yan activated Blazing Body to release heat to resist the cold. He also released a flame shield to block the sharp blades and flying snow outside his body. Just as the members of the Martial Soul Palace were making adjustments, Shui Bing, and Shui Yu's cold voice rang out from the dark clouds in the sky. "Your Highness Wang Kai, our martial soul fusion skill is enough to threaten even soul sages. If you can't hold on any longer, hurry up and admit defeat. Don't get frostbitten." "Miss Bing, Miss Yu, don't worry. Although your martial soul fusion skill is powerful, it's still far from being able to defeat our martial soul hall team. Bring on." While lamenting the kindness of Shui Bing, and Shui Yu, Wang Kai also replied with a faint smile. "All right, your Highness Wang Kai, then we won't hold back." While replying, Shui Bing, and Shui Yu also activated their Snowdrift soul skill with all their might. Immediately, the speed and quantity of the falling snow in the sky increased explosively, shooting towards the members of the Martial Soul Hall team crazily. The cold wind in the arena also became sharper, and the ice and snow tornadoes became more powerful. Drifting Snowflakes. It was a beautiful name, but it was also a name that was filled with killing intent. It was enough to kill a soul emperor, and even a soul sage would be injured by it. Of course, Wang Kai was naturally not inferior to ordinary soul emperors. Even if he only used the third soul skill of his first martial soul emperor Shura, Wang Kai's strength was already comparable to a soul sage without using his martial soul true body. And after using Emperor Shura, Wang Kai could even defeat low-level soul sages. However, although Wang Kai was powerful, the main strength of a soul master was still in his martial soul. Now that Wang Kai did not use his martial soul possession, Wang Kai felt a slight pain on his skin when the snowflakes that were sharper than sharp blades cut into his body. "Very good. Then, I'll let you see the power of my martial soul possession." Looking at the dark clouds in the sky, Wang Kai nodded slightly, and then crazily activated his soul power. Shura's martial soul possession. As Wang Kai shouted, Shura's scales grew on Wang Kai's body, completely covering Wang Kai's body. At the same time, Wang Kai's heart started to beat more vigorously. Shura's blood surged in his body, dispelling all the coldness that had entered his body. The sharp snowflakes only left a faint white mark on Wang Kai's body and couldn't do any real damage to Wang Kai. Not only that, but two mighty Shura's horns grew on both sides of Wang Kai's forehead. They were incomparably sharp and ferocious, and Wang Kai's fingernails became thicker, turning into Shura's claws that flashed with black light. At the same time, Shura's thorns emerged from Wang Kai's body, transforming Wang Kai's body into the most powerful weapon of war. Following the transformation of his body, blood-colored baleful aura crazily condensed around Wang Kai's body. His aura rose sharply, but under the cover of the flying snow, only Tang San and a few other Soul Masters could see Wang Kai's appearance. Break for me. Now that Shura's possession was complete, Wang Kai was no longer afraid of the cold wind around him. He raised the Shura's dragon-slaying spear and pierced it towards the clouds in the sky. Blood-red spear shadows burst out from the tip of the dragon-slaying spear and shot towards the clouds in the sky. Then, the clouds exploded and turned into clouds of baleful aura that were formed by Shura's dragon-slaying spear. Shura's baleful aura began to corrode the clouds as soon as it came into contact with them. The essence of the clouds was actually the soul power of the sisters. Under the corrosion of Wang Kai's, Shura's baleful aura, their soul power was being consumed at a much faster rate. The cold wind and temperature on the dueling soul stage also stopped. His Highness Wang Kai is so strong. I can't hold on much longer. It seems like we have to use that move. But once we use that move, we won't be able to control it. What if we hurt His Highness Wang Kai? His Highness Wang Kai looks like he's doing it with ease. We can't let him look down on us. Otherwise, we won't have a chance to serve him. Okay, let's do it this way then. Within the dark clouds, Shui Bing and Shui Yu's faces revealed a trace of bitterness as they felt their soul force being rapidly eroded. After some discussion, they finally made a choice, following which an endless amount of cold air began to surge towards Shui Bing and Shui Yu. Chapter 235. Under the control of Shui Yu and Shui Bing, a massive amount of cold air was crazily condensed in the air. The snowflakes in the form of a tornado also flew high into the sky and finally condensed in the air, forming a terrifying blue ice phoenix with a body length of nearly 10 meters and a wingspan of nearly 15 meters. Different from the blurry ice phoenix that appeared behind Shui Yu and Shui Bing, when they used their martial soul possession, this ice phoenix made of ice and snow looked very clear, as if it was real. This ice phoenix had bright eyes, lifelike wings, and slender tail feathers. It looked very beautiful and moving. However, if one sensed it carefully, one would find that the body of this ice phoenix contained a huge amount of power of ice and snow. It was extremely dangerous. Once it was released, it would definitely have endless power and could cause terrifying destruction. At the same time, when this ice phoenix was formed, a loud phoenix cry sounded from the blue light column that soared into the sky. Then, a terrible pressure suddenly shrouded the entire soul battle stage. Although this was just a dead object formed by the ice and snow power, the pressure emitted by this ice phoenix was very terrifying. Except for Wang Kai, the other 6 members of the Martial Spirit Palace team couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. Even Yin, who had the Flame Lord martial soul, felt a kind of fear that came from his soul. If he was hit directly by this ice phoenix, not to mention the other members of the Martial Spirit Palace team that he was protecting, even he wouldn't be able to escape. He would definitely be killed in one hit. What a terrible power. It's really terrifying. Yeah, don't look at me as a whole realm higher than them. I can't take this move. Sect Master Ning is right. There will be new talents in every generation. We are already old. The future will belong to these young talents. Sensing the terrifying power contained within this ice phoenix, some of the spectators exclaimed loudly in admiration, some gasped in shock, some revealed disappointed expressions, and some even had the will to fight. Your Highness Wang Kai, if you can't take this attack, please admit defeat now. Otherwise, once it is released, we we won't be able to fully control the power of this attack. In the air above the soul dueling stage, Shui Bing, and Shui Yu-er's voices mixed together, clearly passing into Wang Kai's ears. At this time, Shui Bing, and Shui Yu had already gone all out. At this time, the ice phoenix in the sky condensed terrifying energy. They could only guide it, but they were unable to control it. Miss Bing, and Miss Yu, thank you for your concern. However, you don't have to worry that I won't be able to withstand this attack. Otherwise, I wouldn't be qualified to be the Martial Spirit Palace's holy son. Come at me. I'll show you my true strength. With a kind smile on his face, Wang Kai faintly raised his head and thanked Shui Yu and Shui Binger in the air. Then, he turned around and loudly ordered the Martial Spirit Palace team members behind him. Yin, take the other team members and retreat from the arena immediately. Once this kind of attack is used, even the aftershocks will cause you to be seriously injured. Let me handle it alone. Yes, Captain. Hearing Wang Kai's words, Yin heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he quickly led the Martial Spirit Palace team members and rushed down the arena. At the same time, the other members of the Skywater Academy also quickly jumped down from the arena. Even if this Ice Phoenix was a soul skill released by their teammates, and even if they themselves possessed powerful water-type abilities, they didn't dare to stay in the Ice Phoenix's attack range. Otherwise, what awaited them was only serious injuries or even death. With the departure of the two teams, Wang Kai was the only one left standing in the soul dueling stage, and he, alone, would face the Ice Phoenix that contained boundless power in the sky. Your Highness Wang Kai, will offend you then. Following Shui Yu-O's and Shui Bing-er's cold and apologetic voices, the gorgeous Ice Phoenix descended from the sky. Without a trace of smoke or fire, it transformed into a dazzling icy blue light that floated down from the sky. Riding on the boundless power of the Ice Phoenix, it bombarded Wang Kai. At this time, the snow that was drifting down from the soul dueling stage began to dissipate due to the Ice Phoenix's condensation. Wang Kai's mighty and domineering figure appeared in front of the audience, attracting everyone's attention. Can he succeed? This was the only question in the audience's minds. Compared to the terrifying Ice Phoenix in the sky that was close to 10 meters long, Wang Kai's body seemed so small. It seemed impossible for him to resist the Ice Phoenix that was dozens of times larger than him. However, the audience also noticed that Wang Kai's expression and tone were so calm and confident. It was as if he didn't see the Ice Phoenix descending from the sky as a threat at all. Furthermore, as the holy son of the Martial Spirit Palace, how could Wang Kai's strength be compared to an ordinary soul emperor? Perhaps he really did have the confidence to defeat the Ice Phoenix. Captain, you can do it. You'll definitely succeed. At the same time, Hulaina and the others who had escaped from the stage were also staring at Wang Kai. They were confident in Wang Kai's strength, but when they saw the Ice Phoenix, they couldn't help but clench their fists. In their hearts, they were cheering for Wang Kai. The Ice Phoenix in the air didn't move very quickly, but it would continue to absorb the residual frost chi and snowflakes on the soul battle platform with every step it took. As a result, its body became more solid, and the energy it contained became more powerful and terrifying. The Ice Phoenix was still several dozen meters away from the soul dueling stage, but a thin layer of frost had already appeared on the stage and was growing thicker by the second. One could only imagine how much stronger the Ice Phoenix would be if it were to go all out. The younger generation will surpass us in time. The holy dragon Doan nodded as he sensed the power of the Ice Phoenix in the air. He increased the amount of soul power he was using to ensure that the frost and explosion wouldn't affect the audience. At the same time, he was also watching Wang Kai silently. If Wang Kai showed any signs of weakness, the holy dragon Doloa would concede and protect him from any harm. Even as the Ice Phoenix descended, Wang Kai didn't stop what he was doing. Shura's monarch armor. Wang Kai's fourth soul ring flickered as he crazily circulated his soul power. Streaks of blood-colored azura, baleful aura crazily gathered around Wang Kai's body. Soon after, a set of extremely mighty blood-red armor appeared on the surface of Wang Kai's body and quickly took shape. Not only that, but 3 blood-red shields of light also appeared around the Shura's monarch armor. They slowly revolved around Wang Kai's body, and they sparkled under the sunlight. As Shura's monarch armor took shape, Wang Kai's aura increased once again. His strength, defense, and speed were all boosted by 30%. Chapter 236. Shura's Demonic Flames. After activating Shura's monarch armor, Wang Kai's attributes increased by another level. The surrounding ice energy was also isolated outside of the 3 rotating light shields. Immediately after, Wang Kai whispered, and the 6th soul ring behind him suddenly flashed. With the activation of the soul skill, Wang Kai's body began to flicker with a layer of faint purple light. In the next moment, the purplish-black Shura's demonic flames also burned fiercely outside of Shura's scales, emitting endless heat. And his aura also skyrocketed with the appearance of Shura's demonic flames. After the appearance of Shura's demonic flames, Wang Kai's strength and speed increased by nearly 20%. At the same time, the cold energy within 10 meters of him was completely purified. As soon as it got close to Wang Kai, it was completely destroyed by the high temperature of Shura's demonic flames. So powerful! Is this the true strength of the martial spirit hall's holy son? He's so strong. But it's still not enough to block the Ice Phoenix's attack, right? Feeling Wang Kai's aura, the audience below the stage was surprised again. If they didn't know the ranks of the people on the stage, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that this was a battle between 2 senior soul sages. Come, Limitless Blood Fiend Spear Technique. At this time, Wang Kai naturally didn't care about the audience's surprise and discussion. Instead, he poured all his attention into the Shura's dragon killing spear in his hand. Facing the arrogant Ice Phoenix that was unleashed by Shui Yu and Shui Bing, even a powerful soul master like Wang Kai had no choice but to concentrate and go all out. When he was fighting with the ice snow drifting snow earlier, Wang Kai had already used the Limitless Blood Fiend Spear technique and accumulated a huge amount of spear power. This was reserved for Shui Yu, and Shui Bing, arrogant Ice Phoenix. Of course, Wang Kai only used the modified 49 forms of the spear art. He didn't use the more powerful version of the 64 forms. As for the latter, Wang Kai was prepared to leave it for Tang San to deal with this Ice Phoenix. The power of the 49 spears combined into one was enough. Accumulating power, shooting, thick blood-colored spear shadows shot towards the Ice Phoenix that was constantly descending from the sky. And Wang Kai's spear power was getting stronger and stronger. The spear images were a combination of Wang Kai's soul force, blood essence, spirit, and Azura aura. Each spear was as powerful as a mid-stage Soul Emperor or even a high-stage Soul Emperor's attack. When the spear images reached the Ice Phoenix, they exploded into a mist of blood and began to drain away the Ice Phoenix's soul force. 41 spear strike, 42, 48 spears. Wang Kai shot his spear again and again. At this time, the Ice Phoenix was already less than 15 meters away from the stage. Due to the interference of the everlasting Blood Fiend spear, the energy within the Ice Phoenix's body didn't gather. However, as the Ice Phoenix drew closer, the cold energy that Wang Kai had to endure became more and more terrifying. Even though he was imbued with the Azura demonic flames, he felt as if his blood essence and soul power had become slightly stagnant. 49 spears. Explode for me. But at this time, Wang Kai's Limitless Blood Fiend Spear technique had finally reached the most crucial 49th spear strike. Following Wang Kai's low roar, the 49 spear shadows condensed into Wang Kai's spear. He aimed it at the Ice Phoenix in the sky and shot it out like a dragon. Following Wang Kai's attack, the 49 spear shadows condensed into one. Wang Kai's essence, energy, and spirit also converged into one. A blood-red dragon with a diameter of 2 meters and a width of over 20 meters shot out from the tip of Shura's dragon-slaying spear. Riding on a boundless and terrifying power, it crossed space and shot towards the Ice Phoenix. Self-created soul skill. Heavens, it's actually a self-created soul skill. As expected of the holy son of the martial soul hall. To be able to create such a terrifying self-created soul skill at such a young age, his future is limitless. Seeing this attack, almost all of the soul masters present were shocked. Tang San and Shrek's 7 monsters also revealed serious expressions after seeing Wang Kai's true strength. In the face of such a terrifying opponent, their hearts began to waver slightly. Just as everyone was sighing, the blood-red dragon collided with the Ice Phoenix in the sky above the soul dueling stage, and a terrifying explosion ensued. In an instant, the blood-red Shura's baleful aura and the blue power of ice frantically spread in all directions. The entire soul dueling stage was enveloped by Shura's baleful aura and power of ice, and the terrifying shockwaves from the explosion slammed into the soul power barrier that the Holy Dragon Dolua had set up around the soul dueling stage. Ripples began to appear on the Holy Dragon Dolua's soul power barrier. It even began to show signs of shattering. Many of the soul masters present paled at the sight of this, and some of the more cowardly nobles even stood up in an attempt to flee. They were afraid that they would be swept up in the terrifying shockwaves. At this moment, the soul dueling stage in the center of the great soul dueling arena was completely sealed in ice. A layer of blue light instantly covered the entire stage, and some parts of it even caved in and shattered. Even the soul dueling stage, which had been reinforced and could withstand an all-out attack from an early-stage soul sage, was partially destroyed by the explosion. From this, one could see just how powerful the 2 soul skills were. However, at the center of the frozen soul dueling stage, a young man holding a blood-red spear stood with his head held high. His expression didn't change, and his heart didn't beat faster. He didn't show any signs of injury or soul power exhaustion. Although the consumption of the limitless Blood Fiend spear art was not low, Wang Kai was a man who had 3 god martial spirits supporting him. How could such a consumption of soul power cause him to fall into a state of exhaustion? Furthermore, Wang Kai also had the power of the earth and the body of yin and yang. Even if he ran out of soul power, he could replenish it in less than a minute. However, in the air, Shui Bing, and Shui Yu's condition wasn't as good as Wang Kai's. 2 aqua-blue figures quickly fell from the sky to the ground. After using the disdainful Ice Phoenix soul skill, both Shui Bing, and Shui Yu's soul power had been overdrawn. In addition, the disdainful Ice Phoenix soul skill contained a trace of their origin power. After Wang Kai destroyed the Ice Phoenix soul skill, they also suffered backlash. They didn't have the ability to continue controlling their bodies. Good chance. Seeing the 2 falling from the sky, Wang Kai's eyes revealed a trace of joy. Wasn't this the best time to be a hero and save the damsel in distress? With a thought, Wang Kai removed Shura's possession, Shura's armor, and Shura's demonic flames. Then, with a light tap of his foot, he arrived below Shui Bing, and Shui Yu. He stretched out his hands and gently hugged them before slowly landing on the ground. Thank you, Your Highness Wang Kai. Although they lost the match, but being held in the arms of the man they adore, Shui Bing, and Shui Yu only felt a kind of supreme happiness appear in his arms. Their hearts were like little fawns jumping around, and the 2 pairs of beautiful faces suddenly turned red. Chapter 237. It's nothing. This is what I should do. By the way, are the 2 of you all right? Judging from your complexions, you don't look too well. Wang Kai couldn't help but take a few deep breaths as he smelled the 2 women's fragrances. Then, he looked at the 2 women with a concerned expression as he asked considerately, Yes, Your Highness Wang Kai, we're fine. We just overdraft our soul power. We'll be fine after some rest. However, please put us down first. Listening to Wang Kai's greeting, Shui Bing, and Shui Yu's hearts were touched. However, being hugged in the arms of a man in public, they were a little shy, so they opened their mouths to ask, Yes, Miss Bing, and you, By the way, I'd like to invite the two of you out for dinner tonight. What do you think? Wang Kai asked softly as he gently placed the two girls back on the ground. We'd love to. Hearing Wang Kai's question, Shui Bing, and Shui Yu, felt a surge of happiness in their hearts. They quickly agreed. The first match of the first day has ended. The Martial Soul Hall team has won 1 point. The Skywater Academy team has lost 0 points. Seeing that the match had ended, the referee looked at the 3 remaining team members in awe and announced loudly. At this moment, the Holy Dragon Duo removed the soul power barrier protecting the soul dueling stage. After Wang Kai, Shui Bing, and Shui Yu left the soul dueling stage, the Holy Dragon Duo circulated his soul power. In the next moment, the Holy Dragon Duo's soul ring flashed behind him, and a dazzling holy light descended from the sky and melted all the ice on the soul dueling stage. Very quickly, a few staff members came up to repair the soul dueling stage. An hour later, the soul dueling stage was restored to its original state, and the match resumed. Wang Kai watched the match absent-mindedly. In his heart, he was thinking about how to interact with Shui Bing and Shui Yu. That evening, in the largest hotel in the outer city of Martial Soul Saint City, the Profound Feather Pavilion. Good evening, Miss Bing, Miss Yu. Looking at Shui Bing, and Shui Yu, who arrived as promised, Wang Kai also revealed a bright smile, then happily greeted them. Good evening, Your Highness Wang Kai. Bing is a little curious. Does Your Highness Wang Kai have any special intentions for inviting us sisters out tonight? While greeting Wang Kai, Shui Bing, who was smart enough to ask Wang Kai, Of course, but let's eat first. Waiter, serve the dishes. Following Wang Kai's words, several waiters served up several delicacies that had already been prepared. They were colorful and fragrant, making one's mouth water. Not only were the dishes delicious, but they were also made with ingredients from 10,000-year soul beasts or 1,000-year soul beasts. Once eaten, a soul cultivator's body would benefit greatly. It could replenish their elemental energy and speed up their cultivation. Every dish cost several hundred or even several thousand gold soul coins to buy, and every dish was the best dish in the Profound Feather Pavilion. Your Highness Wang Kai, this is too extravagant. Looking at the dishes on the table, Shui Yu exclaimed in surprise. According to her estimations, this meal would cost several tens of thousands of gold soul coins. To her and her sister, this was an unimaginable amount of money. On the Dolo continent, a soul cultivator could receive 1 gold soul coin a month from the Martial Soul Hall, 10 for a soul grandmaster, and 100 for a soul elder. However, soul cultivators above the soul ancestor level did not have the qualifications to continue to receive this subsidy. They had to join the 2 empires or serve the Martial Soul Hall. To Shui Yu and Shui Bing they were still studying in the academy and had not joined any power. Therefore, their money came from the academy's subsidy and the income from doing missions. They could only earn several thousand gold soul coins a month, but this meal was equivalent to half a year's income. It was extravagant. At the same time, Shui Yu and Shui Bing also needed to cultivate. Although the academy covered a large portion of their cultivation expenses, they still needed to spend a lot of gold soul coins to purchase better cultivation resources. Therefore, they had less than 5,000 gold soul coins saved up. Wang Kai's extravagance made them worship him even more. Come, let's eat together. No need to be polite. It just so happens that you've exhausted some of your elemental energy in today's battle. Eat well to replenish your energy. Don't leave any side effects. Wang Kai said straightforwardly as he picked up his chopsticks. Okay, then I'll start too. Hearing Wang Kai's words, Shui Yu immediately picked up her chopsticks and began to eat heartily. Your Highness Wang Kai, thank you for your hospitality. It would be impolite of us to refuse. Shui Bing looked at Shui Yu with some blame. However, seeing her happy appearance, she couldn't say anything. She thanked Wang Kai and then picked up her chopsticks to eat. To Shui Bing, and Shui Yu food made from 10,000-year soul beasts was very precious. They had only tasted it a few times. After all, although the dean of the Skywater Academy was a Soul de Law, the Skywater Academy's power was many times weaker than the Martial Soul Hall. Therefore, although Shui Bing and Shui Yu were the chief disciples of the Skywater Academy, they could only enjoy food made from thousand-year-old beasts for their daily meals. Therefore, they didn't care about their lady-like image in front of these delicacies and ate heartily. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, Shui Bing and Shui Yu revealed grateful expressions and thanked Wang Kai happily. At this moment, Wang Kai smiled and spoke of his purpose for inviting the two girls out. Miss Bing, Miss Yu, I feel that the strength you two displayed today was very good. I admire your strength very much. As the Holy Son of the Martial Soul Hall, I hope to recruit the two of you as members of my Holy Son's personal guard. I know that with your strength, you will definitely be able to enter the finals. According to the Snowy Knight Emperor's promise, once you choose to join the Heaven Do Empire, you will be able to become a Count or Viscount of the Heaven Do Empire. As the Holy Son of the Martial Soul Hall, I don't have the ability to give you titles and fiefs for the time being. However, I can guarantee that as a member of the Holy Son's personal guard, the living conditions you will enjoy will definitely not be worse than if you join the Heaven Do Empire. Not only that, the cultivation resources you will receive will far exceed that of the Heaven Do Empire. Furthermore, the Martial Soul Hall will be responsible for your soul rings in the future. I guarantee that you will have a perfect promotion. At the same time, I also admire your appearance very much. If you choose to join the Martial Soul Hall and become a member of the Holy Son's personal guard, we can have better contact and even develop a relationship that surpasses friendship. So what do you think?